Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 208. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with Johnny V, as we are coming to you from our Milwaukee studios.
We are. My basement.
You might want to.
We are. That's my basement.
Darn it.
Good call.
I should have just let
You
you
should
go.
just let me talk and not think about it. It's funny because during the broadcasts, I usually have this kind of pushed away so I can look at the screen and talk to Gary, and then every once in a while lean over and talk to you specifically. So I don't even think about it if it's not in my face right now.
We could have had our best podcast
It
ever.
would have been superb.
And I think we are going to have our best podcast ever. We're going to have Dana Vici joining us in just a few minutes, probably. We're going to keep his segment a little bit on the shorter side tonight. We're going to keep it nice and tight. Hopefully he'll give us some results and details from events around the country that don't necessarily include the Ledgestone because, well, we've got our Ledgestone Insurance Open champion in Nate Sexton. He's going to be joining us tonight.
That guy?
Which I have to say is
Co-champion, technically. I mean, there's a FPO champion, too.
Of course. And I did.
Don't be sexist.
I did have a quick conversation with Jessica Weiss, and I'll just throw the tease out there. She said she's traveling. She's unsure of signal. She may or may not at one point pop in and check her signal. And then at some point, we might be able to have her join us.
Who knows?
If it works out, again, we have so many of our touring players literally touring and on the road that they don't always know necessarily where they're going to be and what they're doing. So if we can have Jessica, and if it works out in terms of the technology and the timing, we will try to have her as well. So I did reach out to her. And, of course, as I just mentioned, Nate Sexton. And what I was going to say is that Nate Sexton is due, regardless of this win or not. I think he was just about due to come have a conversation with us. So killing two birds with one stone. It's been a while since we caught up with him.
It really has. I mean, he's had a child, I think, since the last time he might have been on.
Or
it was
3.
close. I don't think it's been 3.
Okay, not that many.
And he took a small break to take care of his daughter while I know his wife was going back to school. I think last week I might have even mentioned that he was one of my good picks on this event because this type of course I think can favor someone who throws with a lot of accuracy and isn't necessarily pushing the bounds of the course. So I was I knew he would finish well. I did not necessarily think he'd finish first, but
I did.
Did you? You knew that?
Yeah,
Wow,
I had no doubt. Sorry, AJ.
So.
I'm just kidding.
Ouch.
Regardless, as you're saying, it was just such a great battle. And it was like, gee, which super nice guy do I root for now? I mean, all super great guys, especially as we came
Dickerson,
down that. Yeah.
AJ.
Reed, who we don't know nearly as well as the rest, but
Reed's a big jerk, I heard. Actually, I heard he's a really, really nice guy from what some people were saying on some web boards.
Exactly. It was Battle of the Nice Guys this weekend. I did have a quick conversation. I think AJ's actually out there right now, and he said he may or may not be around. He's already moved into the Eastern time zone, so of course it's an hour later over in, I think he said he's in Eastern or Northern Pennsylvania at the moment.
When you're a touring pro like that, time zones start to probably mesh a little bit. Not really. You're an hour ahead, suddenly you're an hour behind. They probably don't quite matter nearly as much as opposed to, hey, look, it's late. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to wake up when I wake up.
Yeah, and he, for all I know, he could be at a campsite. AJ is one of those camper types, which is awesome to see.
Yes.
So, all right. Do we have Dynamite anywhere nearby by chance? And usually we see him pop up when he's ready to go. But like I said, we'll have Dynamite. We're going to try and push it to about 9:15 our time, so 10, 12, 15 minutes with him. And then we're going to get right to Nate Sexton. I think Nate said he has some early morning obligations, and so he was excited to join, but was likely going to get on early.
Keep it short.
And then move on to his obligations come morning time.
We do not have a Dana, so
we do not have a Dana yet.
We do not have a Dana yet. So
not yet.
We might end up, if Dana doesn't get on in the next couple seconds, we might have to
come on. We run a tight ship around here and stuff, Dana. So we'll go off track for just a moment, especially as I see he just popped up with his message to me. Paul Ulibarri was on this very show
a couple weeks ago,
2-3 weeks ago, and really pushed hard on his theory about
it was almost anti-distance. Almost. Not quite that far.
Yeah, he was definitely talking about course design and the elements that we see and who they most impact. And I think the long and short of it would be there's plenty of distance out there, but it's not punishing enough, and it's not necessarily as much of a game of accuracy as he'd like to see. It's become a little bit too much about distance, and when they're throwing far and then going out of bounds, and they've already thrown really far, and it's not a big deal.
Well, and on top of that, I was a little active on some of the boards the last day or so, saying kind of this exact same thing, is that you don't out at Ledgestone, you don't see circle threes nearly to the frequency that you see on some of our other cards. Like when the pros like Ricky and Simon and Eagle can push and press on a hole, and if they go out of bounds 40 feet from the basket, meh. Worst case, they're going to take a circle three, maybe a circle four if they don't hit a 30 or 40 foot putt. Ledgestone doesn't really give you that opportunity, in that if you go out of bounds on most of these holes, it's probably a second shot, or if it's a first shot, there's a drop zone that you have to go on, and you're probably not saving par from a drop zone. It is incredibly difficult. You really need to limit the OBs, which doesn't favor necessarily a truly aggressive player that thinks they can make up strokes by beating the competition with distance, as opposed to Nate, who likes to pick apart a course. He knows which holes he's going to walk up and take a 4 on, because it's par, and he knows the holes that he can attempt a birdie on. And the one thing about Nate is that it seems like when he wants to get a birdie, he gets it.
Yeah, well, must be nice.
I know, it's kind of crazy. He's not getting those, like we'll say hole 1 at Ledgestone. He's not birdieing that ever. Not ever. I take it back, but as frequently as someone who's going to be pressing, because we saw on hole 1, Nate threw it off wide and then always ended up at circle's edge or just outside of it on the approach. So he might get that birdie once in a while, but he's not really playing for it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to ask him about that one specifically. I would maybe think a little bit more about hole 2, but
hole 2 as well. But I think
who knows?
Hole 1, it seemed like he did not play aggressive at the basket on his second shot. He looked like he played safe.
No, didn't he go way past the basket when we saw him on the final round?
He threw it way right. He was down,
and then on his approach shot, didn't he go like 30 or 40 or 50 past the basket?
I don't recall that, but
I don't know. I usually don't remember shots. I'm not good at that. Jay Purvis is a super chatter. Thank you, Jay. He says, shout out to Yuli, who found his disc, which is awesome. So thanks so much for being a super chatter. We appreciate that, Jay. And as I said, Paul Ulibari saying he used specifically Paul and Ricky, and I'm sure he throws in a few other names, a Simon or an Eagle, some of your biggest throwers, and that's where that conversation came about, talking about that the distance.
Which is funny because I don't consider, I know Ricky can throw far, but I don't put him in, for some reason in my head, I don't put him in that crowd that is
that elite thrower.
That is an aggressive player, thrower that is going for those eagles. Ricky's the type of person that's going to throw just far enough to give himself a 40-foot putt or a 30-foot putt. I don't see him pressing baskets on some of these really long holes, like some of our, like your Double G, your Simon, Eagle, Paul. There was one more I was thinking the other day. Anyway, some of our really more furthest throwing players. Ricky really he tends to play a slightly further Sexton game, I think. Usually.
Okay.
That's how I see Ricky, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Nate Sexton's messaging me saying he's having a challenge with a laptop camera, and he may ultimately go to a phone, which would be totally fine if you're out there listening, Nate. Skype from a phone or whatever would work perfectly fine as well. So, well, of course, again, we'll be breaking down what we saw on the FPO and the MPO side. A very exciting weekend. I'll say on Jessica's side or on the FPO side, it seemed like things were a little bit more in hand, but I think Sarah Holcomb will clearly tell you there was a great battle going back and forth. They had kind of distanced themselves from the field. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, it looks like it's for sure going to be the two of them, as there was an incredibly stacked second card. You've got Lisa Fakis along with Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and Missy Gannon all sitting on the second card. I don't know when the last time, that would be a great statistic for someone, to go out and find in a 3 or 4 round tournament when you have both Cat and Paige, neither of them on a lead card. That's got to be almost never.
Just tell Dana that forget it. There's not really. I'm looking at the list of events right now. We don't really have a lot of big events other than Ledgestone this week, and I think we could probably just forego Dana this week.
Okay.
But thanks anyway, Dana. We'll catch up with you next week.
Dana. I'll quote, I just woke up on the couch. So, Dana,
I'm not
keep your nap on, buddy.
I'm not even going to give him a hard time. He's got 2 young kids. Steal a nap. Taking a nap to me is kind of like drinking water. You do when you get the chance, just do it. If it's 5 minutes, just recharge your battery or plugging in your phone. If your phone's at 50%, plug in for 5 minutes. If you feel like you need a nap for 5 to 10 minutes, take a nap. Just give yourself a little recharge.
Wow. That's some insightful stuff there. Take naps when you can.
When
folks.
you can. Don't bypass a nap. They're not overrated.
Yeah. Well, when you're lazy like me, then you may want. Never mind. All right, we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah. I was kind of thinking, I'm like, where's he going with this?
All right. So, one thing we'll also have to talk about, and I'm being actually messaged by multiple people, in terms of a conversation, and I think we'll get to it probably after we talk to Nate, because I'm excited to hear his input and feedback as someone who's been at the Ledgestone. Some people are asking if I've seen a Paige Pierce Instagram post, and I'm assuming they're talking about the one from 12 hours ago where she kind of felt, I'll say she voiced her opinion as to where FPO and the courses are, and then talking about long courses versus not playing the same courses, same tees, those types of things. I feel like that was kind of, if we unpack that entire post, we kind of get to the bottom of that, where she's talking about, I'll read it later verbatim, but it almost sounds as if there's a distaste for not being able to play some of the longer courses and configurations, and she seemed a little disappointed that she didn't have those opportunities. But again, I think we should save that entire post and conversation for a little later.
Yeah, we'll save it for later, because I'd love to break that down and talk about that in general.
And we can see where it goes from there. And even I'll say this, it'll be exciting to get Nate's perspective right off the bat as well. Nate Sexton here. I feel like kind of a resounding comment that Drew Gibson and many others are uttering by the end of this weekend. The Ledgestone course, or a correction, the Lake Eureka semi-permanent course, we'll call it that, is not designed for sub 980, sub 1000 you could call it, but are sub 980 rated players. If you struggle, not just with playing the course, but if you struggle with the concepts on that course, that's because it's not designed to suit or challenge you in your game the same way it challenges a 10-15 rated player. And I'm not saying, oh, you're 950, you can't be on the course. I'm just saying there is a totally different mentality and mindset for when you're designing it to a specific level of player. That's our highest level of player, as opposed to someone who's, I'll just say 950, which roughly I am.
Correct. Yeah, and I would absolutely hate to watch the FPO play that course the way it's laid out.
Okay.
No, we take a lot. You want to look at shortening some holes? I'm down with that. I don't mind them out there, but you would have to make modifications to that course, because there are holes out there that are flat out impossible for some of the FPO field. Hole 1. There might be some women that can't even clear that.
Well, and that's all, again, I think part of the conversation, part of the post, and I think we can talk about that as things unfold a little bit later. We'll see if we can get Nate. He says he's looking into it. I'm just going to tell him we're ready when he is. And we'll be able to go from there.
Whenever he calls in, we'll accept the call.
AJ Risley also telling me I may or may not be around a little bit later myself. I'll win next time so I can be on the show. So
I feel bad. Like, obviously, we're all rooting for AJ, but even before he had the 8, you could see the pressure building on him. He was missing putts he hadn't missed all weekend. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, he's kind of regressing back to where his player rating is. He's playing more along the lines of where he has played the past couple months, as opposed to how he had played the first 2 to 2.5 rounds. And then he gets up to hole 9, and it was unfortunate, and he couldn't keep it in bounds.
Yeah.
He kept throwing, and at that point, it was kind of lights out for him. He did come back with 3 straight birdies, but there was not a chance for him to catch up.
Not enough time when you've got half a big sexy running at you. All right. Well, without further ado, it looks like he's all ready to go. You love a guest that knows how to roll with all the punches, and it sounds like he's got his technology up to speed. We can welcome now your Ledgestone Insurance Open champion, Nate Sexton. Hey, Nate, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear us?
Nate, can you hear us? Oh, hold on 1 second.
Might be us. One
yeah,
sec.
Yeah, 1 second.
Oh.
There's one button I need to click that I forgot. I turned off some settings here, and we will get that.
Looks like we have Nate ready to go.
Boom.
And Johnny's
That
got to
should be
hit a
better.
button.
That should be much better.
How are we doing tonight, buddy? You there?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
There we go.
That was
Yes.
on me. Thank you, Nate. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Welcome. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Hey, guys.
Long time no talk. How you been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Mostly more of the same, but having a good time. Absolutely.
So we were saying that regardless of this awesome win, it was certainly just time to catch up with you. It's been a while. What's been going on in your life outside of your golf game?
Oh man. We've been driving a lot. We drove all the way from the West Coast after coming back from Europe, running the Sexton shootout events as we went. So we added Chandler Fry, my friend, to the RV. So we got a touring buddy now, and we are set up at a Airbnb here in Asheville, North Carolina, where my wife is back in school this month. So I've been doing dad duty by day, and every other week I'm going off to a tournament. We're flying grandparents in to take my place to take care of Coraline during the day, so that I can go up and play the Ledgestone and the MVP.
How has Caroline been sleeping? Is she sleeping through the night, or is she more of a I'm going to sleep on my time, Dad?
She used to sleep through the night. She doesn't so much lately. Last few months, not really. Getting like a good night now would probably be 2 to 3 wake ups, but they don't necessarily last that long. Sometimes you can get her right back down. Sometimes we're trying to like wean her off of nursing at night to help her kind of sleep through the night better.
All right. So plenty of busyness. I was going to say, there was a recent announcement about Dave Feldberg and Cynthia, expecting, I think in December or some month. December would be too early, but they're expecting. Do we have any relatively new disc golf parents out there that are, even remotely as touring as you are? You think of any others?
I don't think so. Has anybody ever brought a baby on the road the way I'm doing it?
No, I don't think the way you're doing it. I know Avery's son traveled quite a bit with them, but Avery wasn't exactly touring at that point. I think he was more doing world tour stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't think of anybody that has really taken their entire family and just said, let's hit the road, Jack.
Not at that age.
I'm a pioneer.
You are. So how many states has she been to already now?
Wow. I need to check this. We got a Google sheet, keeps track of that stuff. But I think it's around 35 now that we drove back through, and going to the Northeast is going to be some new ones for her.
Sweet. Knocking them off the list. All right. And how old is she now?
13 months.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Awesome. So let's talk real quick before we get to the Ledgestone event. Let's talk the shootouts. People are obviously loving them. How does that fit into your tour schedule? Do you have some upcoming? Where have some of your most successful ones just been?
Yeah, we have 2 coming up. One is at Maple Hill the day after the MVP on that Monday, and then the next one is the day after the Worlds at Sabattis in Maine. So those are the two. Those might be the last two of the year. We'll see. I may try to schedule a couple more, but it's getting a little tougher with my wife being back in school. It's not quite as easy to just go, hey, we're going to do this for a week straight. Also, after the USDGC with the fading light, the weeknight event becomes a much bigger challenge. So we'll see. I'd like to go see my friends in Georgia and Florida, South Carolina, because we haven't really been through there yet this year. But it's been going fantastic. We've had over 2,500 players. We've had over 30 events now. Sweden, Finland, all over the United States. Our record turnout is 190 players for one event, and we probably average like 72 or so, about a full course. And yeah, we got all 5-star reviews on Facebook, so we must be doing something right.
Well, yeah.
How was the conversion from last year? Was it last year that was the last year the McBeast Challenge?
The year,
or was
yeah,
it the year
last 2 years that's been happening. Yeah,
to the Sexton shootouts, where I mean, it's probably a very similar format, or
yeah, you drop the dead weight, right?
Yeah, you drop the loose change, and
absolutely, it's the exact same, except the Sexton shootout has more discs to choose from, and we have merchandise now, and we have online registration now. So it's exactly like the McBeast Challenge, except better. In the ways that it's better than the McBeast Challenge.
Yeah, awesome. And that conversion, people were very receptive of it, having you come in and not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great. I mean, I honestly wasn't exactly sure how the numbers would work out as far as like how much different is the draw of me and Paul versus me or Paul or just me, you know. And it turns out it's not that different. Like, you know, the people that are willing to come out to see me and Paul seem to be, you know, just as willing to come see just me. It's not pushing them over the edge to have the two of us as much as I had feared, you know. So I knew it was going to be a big success, but I didn't know it was going to be this good. Where, you know, we went to Oklahoma City on a Monday night and 152 people came out. So it's kind of crazy sometimes.
Well, I was gonna say, you don't have. Has there been any issue with having this type of number of people and only having you, as opposed to maybe having any other pro, so to speak, or have you been getting some help?
It's hard work for sure. You know, we did that we lean on our local contacts to help us run the event some, but largely it's me and my wife. And now that we have Chandler, he was really important on this last stretch of them because Coraline can move now, which complicates things.
Mm-hmm.
So Chandler was really helpful, and now that we have merchandise now, we have hats and posters and discs and shirts and disc golf pins, all this kind of stuff. So we didn't have any of that at the McBeast Challenge, where there was like a separate table with like gear that people could get. So it's getting to be a bigger operation for sure. And we've still to this point we've never turned anyone away, but we have had to bend over backwards, like adding 9 temporary holes at the last second to fit everyone, you know. So we do whatever we can. We want to make sure everyone can play and have a good time, and I hope we never have to turn anybody away.
Well, I think of two of the places you just mentioned. Maple Hill, of course, is just famous for being Maple Hill, and then Sabattis with all of those courses, just a great atmosphere, a great environment, and multiple courses. I would almost go on record and guess that you may set a new record at one or both of those places.
That would be nice. The weeknight, it's tough to really get the weeknight. I understand, you know, people got jobs, but you never know. I hope we will. I think they'll be successful. I know they're going to be fun because those properties are both fantastic. So we'll have a great time.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. Well, speaking of properties, having a good time, there's a lot of conversation. And I'll say I remember sitting in Nate Heinold's living room, you, me, Macbeth, having conversations, analyzing some of our favorite and not so favorite holes at this tournament. That's even a few years ago when Northwood was in play on the pro side. I remember some of those really funny conversations that we had. And so this event for the pro men has, I'll say, evolved to just Eureka 4 rounds. Let's start there. Eureka and 4 rounds. How do both of those sit with you right off the bat?
Oh, I like that change for sure. I have a hard time imagining a situation where I would prefer more courses. I think generally I like less. I mean, it's kind of, I guess maybe the Beaver State Fling, but that's part of that is because I grew up in that area, and those courses are really similar, and I just know them really well, so it doesn't feel like a burden to practice both of them. But in general, I think I prefer one, and I kind of think about it, not to be rude to anybody's area, but like, what do I care about your second best course? Yeah, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like, give me your toughest, best one, and let me practice it for 3 days, and then I can put on the best possible show that my body and my mind are capable of putting on. If you don't make me try to learn 54 different holes, and you're not moving pins on me to a large extent, like what they did at Ledgestone, totally fine. They had both pins available for practice the whole time. USDGC similar. So when there are extra pins there, it's really easy to see them and just throw two different upshots or whatever you need to do to make that change. But in general, yeah, give me your best course and give me a bunch of days in a row on it, so that I can play the highest level of golf I'm capable of.
Now, there's been criticism throughout the years, or maybe challenge, and I know some of the backstory in that. Some would argue that McNaughton might be the best course in the area. However, McNaughton has 0.00 when it comes to up or download from a cellular signal, and it's a little bit more remote. And I know that the Parks Department is not as receptive and favorable as obviously Nate gets out at Eureka. Have you been to McNaughton? I think you have in the past, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
what do
I
you think of
played.
that course? If you were to say
It's nice.
just play there.
It's nice. I think I played it in a Ledgestone, and I also once played maybe like 2010, like Greater Peoria Open, I
Hmm.
think, and we played it there too. It's a great course for sure. It would be nice if we could use it, but I'm definitely not like sitting around saying, "Oh no, I can't believe we're not playing there." I think Eureka is certainly harder, and that can be a good thing. I mean, Eureka has it. Every course has its high points and its low points, but no, I don't mind, and I think as ambitious as Nate Heinold is, he doesn't have time to wait for a parks department that's not willing to get up with them. He's pushing the sport forward as much as he can with all this fundraising and making this big of a tournament. As for a little city like that, it's incredible the size of the tournament that they have. So I think he's doing the right thing. He's got to work with people that are trying to work with him.
I totally agree with that. And so as we were just about to bring you on, one of the things that I was kind of going off about was that there's obviously been a lot of conversation about the course and even the evolution of the course from where it was. And see people like a Zachariah Johnson saying how it's steadily improved throughout the years and it's getting better and better. And there's lots of those types of comments, and a Drew Gibson and so on and so forth. As we've continued to grow and this course has gotten tweaks each year, uh, what's been some of your feedback? Because I feel like Nate Heinold listens to you, listens to Paul, and I think he listens to a lot of people. But you're on a slightly closer inner circle with him. It seems like.
Yeah, we've stayed at his house, and he's always been a guy. He's not going to back down if it's a design element that he really believes in, but he's definitely willing to have that conversation, which I appreciate about him. So we've had lots of conversations about, hey, I don't think stroke and distance makes sense in this scenario, or I know that for a while I had some bad years on the baseball field hole, and it was making me mad that I was going OB long. So I think for a while I was pushing for a little bit bigger landing zone because I didn't like that, like, feeling of like, do everything you can to clear the baseball field, but then put the brakes on. It's just hard to, like, you have to get over a fence and get down before the wall. So I think he expanded that a little. And I'm in that camp for sure that the course is steadily improving. I think he's taking feedback and making it better. Like shortening hole 8's pin position is something that I was asking him for from the beginning. That was a ludicrous place to put the basket, even though I'm still just playing it for par. So honestly, it's probably good for me if it stays in like a inaccessible place. But I just don't think that that's what we need. You want to see good shots rewarded, and let people you want to bait people into that risk reward decision. You don't really want everyone playing a hole for par. No, if even the most aggressive players aren't getting it done, then obviously that there needs to be a change. And I would argue that the long position on the par 5 is in that territory right now, where that new long position is like a tweener kind of, because I know some guys were getting it, but there's really not an available fairway there. There's not really a place to put the disc where you can be sitting 2 and throwing your 3rd and feeling like, oh, I have a workable shot here. I didn't personally see anyone for it except on video, but it was with a huge putt. I know James Conrad got it twice, so clearly it can be done. But I think that's the kind of thing that I think, Nate looks at the data and he's going to say, oh, okay, maybe that didn't work. We need to maybe limb up some trees or do something. Because he keeps saying he wants people to go down that left fairway, but it's really not non-existent sort of at the beginning. There's not really a usable fairway there. Hole 13.
Yeah, hole 13. Okay. And I had made the discussion how, personally, I would like to see the tee pad move to the other side of the water. I don't like the... I don't like
a par 5.
Yeah, I don't like the 13, 18 congestion, and I think that it would help with flow a little bit.
Absolutely.
And I think you could find a position that would that would maybe for a forehand or a lefty player might be a little bit more fair. I'll throw in quotes, or
yeah, sure.
Friendly.
Sure.
Friendly is a better word. You're right. And just because you're right, the long position is tough, and I think that landing zone from the tee spot it's pretty small to get that optimal next shot. But
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it's interesting too because one of the reasons why the tee is there is just the beauty of it. The allure of throwing over it. Although I don't recall seeing a single shot come up short. I mean, everyone can easily clear it.
Right, but
yeah,
that's because they were trying to be aggressive to the spot.
Yep.
So the other point to that was 4 rounds, and I'll say, here you are, you're busy. We know MVPs in a couple of weeks. All the and tees sometimes are sprinkled in between pro tours, so on and so forth. Here we are on 4 days. It's a non-major. It's obviously one of the largest paychecks of the year. What dictates 3 versus 4 for you, and how do you feel about it?
That's a bit of a tough one. I think I've definitely said before that I've definitely been in a situation before where I'm in some city playing a 4-day tournament, and I'm turning to Macbeth and saying, what gives these guys the right to have a 4-day tournament? Why do they think they're special enough that they should have a 4-day when that's what majors are, So I think there's something to be said there that maybe a standard A tier ought to be a 3-day event, a major 4, and the World Championships 5.
Okay. I'm
100% on board.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm game with that. I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you got to work. You got to put in work to get yourself that major status, and then your reward there is 4 days of competition when you make an event that prestigious, and that's what they've done because they have the Worlds next year.
And that was going to be my very next question: is did you have any conversations with Nate or anyone, PDGA or otherwise, to talk about what you think we're going to see when we get there? And I'll admit, I honestly don't know myself. I didn't really ask too much, but do you know kind of what they're thinking for Worlds next year, the amount of courses and/or rounds at them, which I'm sure is all in pencil?
I haven't heard anything super concrete, but the kind of whispers I feel like I'm picking up is 2 courses with some major changes at Northwood.
Okay.
And then also obviously Eureka. So I think that's what I was told, but I haven't had a conversation about it exactly.
Yeah, I do recall seeing a post of sorts on Facebook talking about some changes at Northwood, which would certainly be in line with what you're talking about. So I guess we'll have to see if we can find that out. We won't harp on it too much because the conversation is out there about the women and them not even playing Eureka. Do you feel like they should have been there? Do you like that they're at 2 other courses that may or may not suit the FPO field better? I mean, you're obviously a very thoughtful guy that also likes to look at things like numbers and statistics. How do you feel about where the women's competition was?
You can't put them on the layout we played. I mean, 3. You can't have 3. I think it's already borderline to have 3 separate island holes over 300 feet on one course. Like that, there shouldn't be that many, in my opinion, there shouldn't be that many do or die shots in one design where you're like, if I mess this up, it's automatic bogey, maybe worse. I don't mind an island hole, but I don't think you can have three, and certainly you can't put the women's field. Certainly some of them are capable of making those shots, but a hole like hole 17, hole 9, hole 13, hole 1, those just aren't. That is not acceptable to put the women's field there, because you got to think about the lower rated beginning pros, in women's that are maybe not. There's certainly players that aren't reaching 300 feet with consistency.
Well, and just in terms of sheer player rating, as like I said, we were opening the show talking about who this course is designed for. And when you see some people criticizing,
it's designed for a 1,000 rated player and above, period.
Yeah, and that, I guess, would be my question to you. Do you feel like there's a magic number or a cutoff when it's like, there's the spectator point of view, and then there's the competitive player point of view, and in this case, those two may or may not overlap whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, Paige Pierce wanting to play it because she would probably crush. And I'm not saying she's being selfish, but, she wants a challenge. I get that. She's an incredible talent athletically, where she can throw the disc probably nearly as far as I can. I don't know. I don't want to go against her. I'm not. It's not.
That's a no-win situation right there.
I'm not going in against her in a distance contest. It's pretty intimidating. But I think I don't know. I don't know if there's a certain cutoff number. I mean, certainly we had some lower-rated players in the field, and we had some pretty disgusting-looking scores on UDisc that were like all orange across the board. Bogey, double, bogey, bogey, double, triple, triple. Like that's maybe not what we need. That's ideally you would have no one in a given tournament putting up numbers like that. No offense to those guys, but they're outmatched by that design. So that's tough. If you don't really, ideally, I think in the future you'll have more controls on who's able to register for an event like this, where like a PGA Tour golf event, you're never going to see just like, oh yeah, a guy was 55 over par, because they have to have their tour card or whatever to get in the door, because the course is too hard for just like some guy that happens to have the entry fee.
Yeah. And that, I'll take it a step further, and then a great point, and you heard it here, people. I'm going to use a Jamie Mosier reference. He had asked about the cutoff line, and that does strike up, actually, I think, a really good debate. There was a cut here that brought you into Sunday, and I forget the numbers on his post, but he felt that the cut was too far off. He said it cut to 120 people.
I think it was around 120. And cash, I believe, was at like mid-70s,
okay,
mid-80s or something.
That sounds about right.
You got to cut more people, is what he's saying.
I think that's what he's saying. Is he felt as if you're sitting in that 119th position. No matter how good you play, there's just simply no getting to that bottom cash line, making that round feel, we'll say, worthless.
Sure.
And I know you're not usually too worried about where cut lines are, but. Do you feel like there's a magic number, or as he said, make the cut at Vibram and you get paid? That was obviously even on the T-shirt, made the cut, get paid. Where do you feel like a cut line could be? Because I said if you go too close, somebody's going to say, man, they've got all this added money, and I'm just 3 strokes out of bottom cash right now, but they didn't take me. So I know you're going to hear both sides of the argument, but have you ever thought about where a cut line should be?
I don't know. Maybe it could be something like that. Like you got to be within 3 strokes of last cash position, or something.
Sure.
I personally like the cash line and ties.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sorry you did not make the cash line. You were 1 stroke out of it. Try harder next time.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you have to draw a line somewhere.
There has to be a line somewhere, and it can't be. You have to take emotions out of it. You have to say, this is where we're at. I'm sorry. Cash in above, because it does feel, I think, well, maybe not you, Nate, or maybe you have in the past, but a lot of us have been in the position at like a Worlds or something like that where it's like, oh, great, I've made the cut. Not me personally, but I know you have, but I can't cash.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I could be doing something else. I could be caddying for a buddy of mine who did. I could be I could be relaxing with a drink somewhere watching other pros play. So
Sure. Well,
my personal opinion.
It certainly would be your right to drop out at that point too, if you would rather. But yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I would have no problem with, as long it just has to be made clear beforehand, and that's fine. It could be right at the cash line. It could be somewhere close. I do agree that it doesn't make a lot of sense to put guys out there that are 15 strokes out of the cash.
Or you could do. It was 2008. Sean Sinclair and I had a conversation. It was the final day of Worlds, Saturday, for the semifinals, and on Friday night, it came down to it. We had both made the cut in terms of the cash line, but they cut it short, and so I cashed at the World Championships, but I didn't play in the semis, where he cashed, and he was a stroke or two better than me, I think, but he had to go play the next morning. And if you played the best round of his life, he's going to make like an extra $12. And I was like, heck yeah, I get to sleep in, and I got paid. That was the sweet spot, the absolute sweet spot.
I'll give you that.
Way back in those days. So, great weekend, lots of golf. At what was your mentality as the first round or two? I mean, we obviously kind of caught up with the live action and seeing you during the latter part of the event, but what was your mentality? What was kind of your thought process as rounds 1 and 2 unfolded, and how that positioned you on the leaderboard or otherwise?
I was pretty happy. I discussed this a little bit with Steve Hill on PDJ Radio today, but the leading up to the event, I had for like 36 hours, I had a fever of 102. I was just like laying in bed. I wasn't practicing. I was just, for the days leading up to that, I was taking care of the baby. And then I was just like, over the weekend previous, I was like super sick, and I had a really bad sore throat the whole drive up there. Was just going cough drop after cough drop the whole drive for 10.5 hours. And then I got there and I was playing practice rounds with Chandler, showing him the course. The day before the event, I played a practice round for score and shot a 1 over. And I was just kind of like, man, this is, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not feeling that great. But then my sore throat was only there for the first day of competition. After that, I felt better going in the second, third, and fourth days. But yeah, I mean, luckily I was able to kind of turn it on or just get my focus back. And yeah, I was just doing what I always do, just kind of trying to play the percentage that looks the best to me on any given hole. And it was working well. And, AJ was playing fantastic, but, obviously he's new to that position, being way out ahead. So that's a little less hopeless feeling than if it was Paul or Rick or somebody that was that far out ahead. Not that I would ever give up hope, but I felt like I'm definitely in this because we had 2 more rounds, and I was getting up there towards I think I was on the lead card, right, for 2 rounds. I think so. But yeah, so I was feeling good, and then obviously going into the final day, just 3 shots back, I knew I had a real chance to win.
Did you have any exchanges with AJ Saturday or Sunday prior to the play unfolding, and then even afterwards? But did you have any exchanges with him with the newfound position that he was in?
Not too much. We were around when we were the last guys left practice putting, just those of us on the lead card. The last day, it was just like really hot, and I was often before a big pressure round like that, like in the minutes before it, I feel pretty just like sleepy and kind of like, I think it's just like my body conserving energy and getting ready for the big show. But I tend to feel like, oh man, I don't really want to do this. Oh boy, So we were joking around saying, why is this 4 days? If they want to cut it now, you played good enough, AJ. I'll happily take second if that's what they want to do. And AJ's like, deal. Let's go do it.
Let's go talk to Nate right now.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I think they're gonna make us play, so we'll see how it goes. But we were just joking around. I mean, clearly I wanted to play and I wanted my shot to try to pass him, but in that moment, in just the super muggy hot weather, it's so hard teeing off at 3:15. Especially when you got a travel buddy. I'm bringing Chandler to the course, and I'm just getting in like 11 a.m. and it's super hot, and I'm just like walking around, going, come on, you can do it, and just trying to support him. But by the time just waiting around that long when you're trying to perform at your peak, it's just it can be kind of draining. And then once you get in it, you feel fine. But the time leading up is not especially fun when you're just like waiting around in all that really sweaty weather and just wanting to get out there and throw. I just feel antsy, like, let's go. I just want to get out here and start playing golf. I don't want to stand around anymore.
Well, and that was going to be another question is we saw nearly identical weather all 4 days. I mean, is it fair to say you had to make very few adjustments day to day in terms of what the weather was offering? It was hot, it was muggy, and it was sunny all 4 days,
and it
right?
Wasn't particularly windy.
Mm-hmm. Which is some very different conditions from what you would probably expect out there. It's relatively wide open, and wind and rain have played into that course lots of times in the past. And again, just kind of a stale mugginess instead. Yeah,
I brought some like wickedly overstable discs, but none of them ended up having to go into my bag.
Okay, so you move into that last round. You're ready to go. Everybody's kind of anxious. There's obviously this pressure. You and the rest of the card, all 3 strokes down to AJ. What would just walk us through kind of your overall mentality on the first few holes, where it seemed like you were just playing steady, par for the course, so to speak, literally, just moving along.
I definitely wasn't. I'm not going to make any changes to my approach. Certainly not with 18 holes to go and only 3 strokes back. Maybe when we're talking about 5 holes to go, 3 strokes back. But even then, it's like I'm just on the last few holes. I'm trying for birdie anyway, the way that course sets up. So the holes, it happens to be that the holes that I play pretty safely are all on the front 9. So I was just going to do my thing there, and let whatever happen. If AJ makes birdies and Chris makes birdies and Reed makes birdies, that's fine. They can take those risks and go for that. And I was just going to do what I do. And if I lose, I lose.
So walk us through, because I had the emotions in the booth. I'm sure, Johnny and Gary here watching it unfold, the entire world, watching that unfold on hole
17
number
and 18. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh,
I'm talking about the bridge hole. Hole 9. What is that like on that? First of all, it's a pretty congested, kind of weirdish tee area on the back of that bridge. What's going through your mind as you're watching this unfold? And I guess it was from the drop zone then too. But what was going through your mind during all of that?
Yeah, it's tough to see. I mean, unfortunately, Chandler Fry did the same thing when I was walking with him. So I'd already seen a quintuple bogey there before AJ's, and it was tough both times just to see the drop zone shot staying right, because it's just a miss you cannot have, is being right from the drop zone, because then you don't advance. If you just clear the island, you limit the damage to likely a 5. So not flying over the island once, and then even worse twice, it was pretty brutal. And it's obviously, nerves related, because I can't imagine AJ making that bad of a mistake twice in a row in another situation. So I'm sure he's going to learn from it. I know he probably already has. And you always got to be thinking about your miss. You can't have that catastrophic miss, certainly not twice.
Whether they're, your parents or your biggest fan or your daughter rooting for you, just no matter who you are, where you are, to see that happen to any player is just gut wrenching. I mean, we know that you have this very friendly, fair, competitive spirit, as most of our golfers do. And so watching that unfold was just, it was It was heartbreaking for everybody. And then you guys turn around, and I think there was there were 4 birdies on 10. You guys,
I think 3 of which were outside the circle.
Yeah,
like the next hole was like a putt fest. Everybody was draining from everywhere.
And then the next hole, everybody birdies except for Reed, who makes a long, a par save. But there's 3. So I mean, there's 7 birdies and 8 opportunities in the next 2 holes, and it kind of seemed like that was the blip on the radar. Did that relieve pressure on not just AJ, but on the whole group? How do you feel like that changed the dynamic when that happened?
I wasn't thinking much about that, I guess. I felt like, man, I parked hole 10 and those guys wouldn't give me my stroke. They kept making putts. So I was pretty much in my own world there. I knew that AJ had lost the tournament right then, and I felt bad for him, but I didn't have time to feel all that bad.
Correct.
You've got your own problems.
You can feel bad for him on Monday and Tuesday. But Sunday, not the time.
Yeah, well, you're cashing your check. You're like, AJ, AJ.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just trying to execute, trying to keep making my putts. It was cool. AJ's spirits were great. Before we teed on 10, kind of just a classic AJ moment. Chris and I had both two'd. Reed had forward. Chris and I threw our drives, and then AJ turned to Reed and very loudly and obviously went, "Hey, is it you or me next?"
There you go.
And I thought that was pretty funny. I gave him a fist bump for that because it's like, man, that's the way to handle it. To still be able to poke fun at yourself right when the wound is fresh. That's not a lot of guys have that mentality, and I appreciate seeing that. So that was cool, and I knew he was going to be okay when he made that joke. I was like, okay, he's not sitting over here with his head in his hands. He's going to be fine. And he made that big putt. I think, in a way, it's obviously not good to have that 8 happen, but in a way, I've been there before to where it frees you too, to just start making some shots because you don't have to. The pressure's gone now. And it's not, you wouldn't want to do it, but now that it's happened, you're out of it. You lost. You can just kind of get back to doing what he did in the previous rounds, where he's really shredding the course. So I think it's not quite, relief is the wrong word, but certainly the pressure is gone after you kind of wake up from the nightmare of that 8.
And yeah, that was exactly what I was wondering about. I kind of feel like there's, again, like you said, not necessarily a sigh, but there's that pressure is now off of him.
I'm plugging in my phone. Let me.
All good.
Am I still coming through? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're great.
Yep. Everything's good. So we're gonna fast forward just a little bit. You're talking about high pressure. I made a little post of you parking 17, but as you guys moved into 17 and 18, well, start on 17.
I want to ask, do you know what the heck Reed is thinking on that shot on 17?
All right, yeah, let's start there.
Let's start there because that's where things start to get interesting with Reed and the rest of the card.
I don't know. I think if I had to guess what he's thinking, it's that he doesn't want to have to throw a fluffy touch shot. He wants to throw a full power shot, and the water is a convenient way to slow down that shot and have it land with some touch on the green. But it's a crazy play.
Yeah.
And successfully done all 4 rounds from what we were told.
I heard that was a rumor.
He for sure did it
3rd round.
3rd and 4th. And
Get on that U-disc.
Yeah.
I don't think they keep a staff for skip shots.
Well, at least if he has a bogey, we know it didn't work.
Yep.
That's a good call. I was told, and you're right, that could have been just rumor running around, but I was told that he did that all 4 rounds. And there was
I heard
a big
that too, but somebody told me he had a bogey. I don't know who.
He definitely had a bogey on round
17.
2. Round 2, yeah. So you were
rumors.
You were rumors. Yep. And he took a par on round 1. So maybe it worked and he missed a putt, or it was right or left or something. But okay,
that makes sense. That's really the only way to par it.
Yep.
So walk us through 17 for you and what was going through your head at that point. And fair to say, hole 17 there, not quite the same, or is it the same emotions you have, say, 17 at USDGC?
Not quite, just because
the shot's
maybe
not as tough.
because maybe because I already won USDGC. But had I not, won that, and I was still kind of searching for that first big win, maybe it would feel exactly the same. I don't know. But I didn't feel quite the same. But I felt it was a lot similar. I mean, I'm just trying to pick my aim point. 17 at Eureka is a much farther hole, so you can kind of lay into it a little more, which is kind of nice in a way, because I'm just sort of aiming at that big tree with the forehand, and I just am reminding myself just to throw it firm. It's not like a full crush, but I have to get on it. And if I throw it pretty hard and just normal height, that thick grass will catch it.
And when you threw that, was there any doubt whatsoever for you when you threw that on that during the final round?
No,
you knew you nailed it.
I knew I nailed it. I actually thought it might ace for a second.
And then Chris steps up, and obviously it looks like it's come down to the two of you. It seems as if you're officially have pulled away from Cameron Colglazer. I mean, he's in the clubhouse. I think he's sitting 25 under. He had a great round, but you guys were proving, okay, there's plenty of birdies for us to finish out on, and you were kind of both chasing after them. Of course, you're rooting for sportsmanship and competition, but what were you thinking as you're watching Chris throw 17? If anything,
I was just watching the disc. I'm just seeing what he's going to do. Is he going to be in bounds or out of bounds? And then he was in bounds, so I knew he's making that putt. So then I knew mine was close enough where there was no thinking. So it was pretty much time to start thinking about 18.
And watching, you had a great drive on 18. We've watched Chris.
How far away were you and Chris from each other on 18? I don't recall.
They were one stroke apart. Nate
I know strokes, but distance.
The drives.
The drives.
I would say I think he outdrove me by about 25 feet.
Okay, because you're both kind of up and to the right up there, it looked like.
Yeah, we were in a really similar spot. I was first to throw.
And he, I'll say we saw during the Saturday's round as well. A lot of people throw rollers on that hole, and we saw some very successful, some just, crushes. But we also then watched Chris just throw a laser. I mean, it's no shock or surprise. I know that he throws far, but to watch him throw the lasers that we saw both days on 18, super confident, no problems, putting exactly where he wants to. Those last couple of shots, did you feel like when you were throwing your approach shot, what was going through your mind at that point?
Well,
where do you want to miss, maybe, or not?
His drive was fantastic. I mean, he got past my roller with that low air shot. That was a crush. But on my approach, I'm just trying to put the way the trees are set up. I needed to put a slight Anheuser on the Firebird. One of my strongest shots in my bag. So I felt good. I knew that one of the rounds I had a similar, as we're going to get to soon, a rollaway OB in round 2. That was one of my OBs, was on 18, throwing into the green with the forehand. And I didn't, there's no video, or maybe there is. Yeah, I think there is. I think I was Jomez that round. But I rolled into the water somehow, not as egregiously as Chris, I don't think, but I went into the water there. So that was something I didn't want to have happen. But round 3, I'm pretty sure I put it like 10 feet away. So I was just thinking, just try to repeat that. I honestly thought I was 10 feet away after I threw the shot. I didn't realize that it had gone, 32 feet or whatever long of the basket. I thought it was a done deal.
Well, and I think we were all gearing up, knowing, obviously we saw where it landed on the catch cam, and we're like, there's going to be a high pressure putt here.
There's a tester at least. I mean, the way you had been putting, I kind of had the feeling, I'm like, I don't think he's going to miss this, but anything can happen. It's, there's a lot of pressure. Let's see where Chris puts his, because I was thinking if Chris puts it anywhere within 40, there's a good chance he's hitting it.
That's what I thought. I saw his throw, and I knew he had thrown it inside of the ideal line. And I thought, okay, that's 40. He's making it, and I'm making mine. That's what went through my head when I saw his throw. I didn't even entertain the idea that he might 4. I was like, this guy's ice in his veins. He makes every 40-footer as far as I'm concerned. And he's going to make this one, and then I'm going to make mine.
Well, yeah, and that's the crazy part about Chris, and we talked about quite a bit during the broadcast. That guy is so deadly from circle 2.
From about 33 to 40 foot, that step putt he has is just money. Just a line, a laser.
Yeah,
Yes.
every single time. Wow. So it gets up and it rolls. And could you guys tell? And I don't recall if there was a spotter down there that had necessarily indicated it. Did you guys know right away that it was out of bounds or not?
No, we didn't even know that it was rolling. But I saw your camera guy. He was had the camera over it, and I knew then. I mean, we knew it had rolled because we heard the reaction, and I didn't know if it was in or out until I got all the way up there and saw it. But I had a pretty good feeling it was out the way he was standing there, just holding the camera over the disc, or at minimum, it was balancing on some rocks, and most likely it was out. And I got over there first before Chris. I saw it and turned around and said, "Oh man, it's out, sorry." I don't know what I said, but just like that. I acknowledged the fact that was rough.
Have you watched any video of what actually happened, of how it rolled?
Yeah, I saw it. It was pretty crazy.
Heartbreaking, like brutal.
Just an old-fashioned slow roll.
Yep.
Yeah, and we were, I think Dixon was talking about it possibly sitting down or whatever. I have to rethink about how the commentary, and at first you're like, oh yeah, well that's just going to sit down or whatever.
I thought it was a fortunate roll. I'm like, oh, that's rolling towards the basket. He's going to have less of a putt than the way he threw it. How lucky is this guy?
It looked like it. It would look like it was slow enough to stop.
Yeah.
It is, and I know you've kind of joked about it. I know others have joked about it in terms of you being a conservative player, or as maybe you would just say, a smart player. But how sweet is that you have the layup for the win? I mean, could you draw it up any better, or would you?
No, I mean that's how I like to do it for sure. That's the USDGC as well. That would be. I mean, it'd be fun to hit a big putt for the win too, but laying up's a lot easier.
Is there any part of your brain on that last throw when you're tossing it up there, thinking, "Please don't roll"? Like, is it in your head at all on a silly little just
not on the little layup? I just think to myself, like, you need to put some spin on this. If it has spin, it can't roll. If you flop it, it could roll, but don't do that. So I just think I have to put a little bit of wrist into the putt, make sure it's got some spin, and then it won't roll in that situation.
Wow.
But part of me, it would have been foolish to run that putt. But part of me feels in hindsight like it would have been cool just to make it, and then nobody would have to talk about, oh boy, well, this roll away, what bad luck. It is bad luck, but I do feel very confident I was going to make that putt. I hadn't missed in the circle all day, and I was feeling good.
Well, I mean, the way I always look at it, maybe whoever. Bad luck on 18 versus bad luck on 17. Had Chris's hit the pin, got up and rolled down in the water on 17, it's less of a conversation. You're still laying up that putt then, in theory, if things go the other way. It sucks that it's on 18. It's more dramatic, but a stroke is a stroke no matter where you take it.
Absolutely. And, it was really a bad break. No question.
Interestingly, I had reached out to AJ a little earlier. I was thinking it in my head, and then I confirmed it with him. I had asked him if he threw any forehand shots off the tee this weekend. I obviously we only saw him play for 2 of the rounds, and he confirmed that he didn't. And then I think how different your approach is. Obviously, you're certainly one of the best forehanders on the planet.
Yeah.
How is that crazy to you or not? And what does that say about the course or the event or whatever? What does that say that someone like AJ, who literally threw 0 forehands off the tee and really didn't throw even any forehand approach shots throughout the weekend? He said he had 1 forehand roller kind of that we saw.
Yeah.
What does that say, if anything?
It makes me think, man, isn't disc golf cool? Because you can get the job done with so many different approaches. And it also makes me think, AJ, come on, man, get in here. They're fun.
A forehand.
They're fun. To me, it is incredible in that he was getting it done with the tools and the resources. Obviously, he's a solid player, but getting it done without without the forehand. Just the fact that he's right there, he's competitive. He was leading the tournament, had a 5 or 6 stroke lead at one point. And he's doing this all with the backhand. And then I'll take that, compliment and flip it around and say, all right, well, I wondered, is the course challenging, is it missing something in a design or a challenge aspect that forehands aren't required to win out there? And it was just a thought I had. I'm not that smart. I don't think about 2 things things too deeply, but
I
that's
don't
why I
think
was
so. I
interested
think
in yours.
I don't think that's a problem. There's plenty of, you can win, like I probably didn't throw a single mid-range the whole tournament. So it's like, is that a design flaw? There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, I guess.
Mhm.
However you want to do it, you can force the disc to bend to your will and make a lot of shapes with a lot of different choices. So I guess I threw our pro darts, but I don't think I ever pulled out my Rock 3 or my Mako 3. I pretty much just carry them so people don't make fun of me for not having any.
So people are like, "Hey Nate, what's in your bag?" And you're like, "I got all these drivers. I got these." Like, no, what do you throw for mid range?
Of course, I have Rock 3. Just like I got a Rock 3, Mako 3, and I do like throwing them. I do like throwing them, but I just don't tend to use them that much because I can usually just go, well, a Sexton Firebird I can make it do this.
Everybody knows Sexton Firebirds do anything.
Yeah.
They can do everything.
If
you got a 110-foot approach, yeah.
30
Sexton Firebird.
think
30-foot putt.
Bridge hole looks like a backhand for some reason. You're weird. Throw a Sexton Firebird.
Yeah, 750-footer uphill, Sexton Firebird.
I feel like
two of them.
Well, yeah.
I feel like the Eureka course somebody was complaining that they didn't love the course because it doesn't challenge your scrambling ability at all. There's almost no scrambling. And this is the type of course I think it doesn't even really challenge a lot of Circle 2 putting for most players. It is pinpoint drive, pinpoint approach or another drive, and then hit your Circle 1 putts. Like that's Like that's the way this course feels to me.
Yeah, and the scramble, I guess the definition of a scramble is that you're saving par, and this course maybe the scramble is saving single bogey.
Sure. Yeah, and that
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's a very punitive course, just like Winthrop, which clearly is a style that suits me.
Yeah.
So at the top of the show, I had referenced Paul Ulibarri, who chimed in before we had you, and he was talking about course design and distance versus accuracy and how punishing different shots are, so on and so forth. We had him on a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Does this course, does this style, does it suit you more so than a Paul or a
Eagle
Ricky
or
a Simon or an Eagle, all who have been competitive here?
Yes.
But does this
a different course
suit
layouts
you?
though? I mean,
hard to say, I guess. I think, I don't know. I think it suits me really well. It's hard for me to quantify how well it suits another player, but I think for me, the really punitive courses that bait a more aggressive player into taking high risk shots so many times gives me an opportunity to play a game plan that's like really consistent and still can win, which that's a nice feeling to be able to play what feels very low risk and still be able to put up a score that's good enough to win against 180 players. And that, in a way, like I always joke, just to bug you, Ulibarri and Coling and all those guys, I'm not even trying out there, you guys. I don't know what you guys are doing. I'm not even trying to get birdies. I don't care about that. I'm just going to throw it in the middle, whatever. And then they go, "Oh, we're out of bounds 6 times." And I go, "How? Why?"
Is there even 6 spots to go beyond this course?
Yeah.
You don't bag enough Firebirds, Sexton Firebirds.
Obviously,
clearly.
I understand it, but I like to take my my shots at them when I get a chance. But yeah, whenever guys are complaining like, "Oh man, so much OB," I'm like, "You went OB on that hole? How?" And clearly, I know how. But yeah, I mean, I like to make fun of them for that and say, "Man, I'm not even out there. I'm not even trying. I'm just going out there and closing my eyes, throw a couple shots. It's easy."
I mean, take hole 8 is a great example, as you were saying, where moving that basket up really baits the player to make that second shot, especially if they have a really good first shot. And we saw Dickerson twice throw what appeared to be really good approaches just a hair right and leave himself with nothing. Like he was 15 feet from the basket and didn't have a chance at that putt. And
yeah, it's kind of crazy. You'd like to see that rewarded better because those are fantastic shots. To get anywhere in circle 1 there is forcing you to take what to me feels like a very risky shot because it is that flat putter mid-range type shot where if you weak it at all and let it leak left, it's in the water. So that's kind of a nightmare shot for me, really, to have to go 300 feet and I have to throw a backhand, but it absolutely can't move left or right. Like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, and Dickerson, as we know, excels at that. Just
Yeah,
laser,
he does. He does.
Laser shot.
He's great at that.
One of the questions I had, and I'm sure somewhere someone can accuse me of some fanboyism, but I drive home that night, and I think on Sunday night as I'm driving back, I'm thinking, and I consume zero content other than the live stream along with the women's stuff that I edited, and I think to myself along this whole conversation, what do Paul and what did Ricky, our two highest rated players, what did they do to not win? And maybe you just answered some of those questions, or maybe you didn't, but I'm thinking, what are they doing out there so wrong that they're not winning? And could you answer that? Is there a
Well, I didn't play with either of them. I didn't play with either of them, but I gotta think that they're getting into, they're making a mistake, going out of bounds, and then being put in a situation where they have to press and continuing to go out of bounds. It would be my guess. It's hard. Some people don't have the mentality to be able to take their foot off the gas enough to just take a par. Like Paul, he can do it, but he's so supremely skilled. I think sometimes it's tough for him to rationalize, like, his brain goes, I can reach it. I can do it. Where my brain goes, like, I can, but I shouldn't. So I think it can be hard. Guys get in spots where it's certainly possible for them to pull off this shot and gain a stroke on the field. But the consequences of that choice can sometimes be pretty dire. So that'd be my guess, is that maybe aggressive in some of the wrong spots, or who knows, it could be as simple as just slipping on a few tee pads and plunking a few in the water and getting frustrated. I can't say what kind of mistakes they made, or it just wasn't a great week for either one of them.
Well, and again, I'm sure people that are far more analytical, I think of people like Dixon, I think he has a whole podcast based around stuff like that. I didn't dig into the numbers, but as I'm driving, and like you said, I didn't watch anyone else play, but I do think, like, with their skill sets, how is it that neither of them were even sniffing or even thinking about the win? And I'm not trying to sound derogatory clearly to either of them, but you have to wonder, the two best in the world, strictly by rating, but the two best in the world, they're not even contenders this weekend.
Yeah, it's a rare thing over the last 7 or 8 years, because those guys are fantastic. But you can't win them all, So
I mean, they're on the decline. They're on the decline.
They're washed up.
We're
they
seeing
need kids.
They
need kids.
The decade of Sexton is coming.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm rounding into sure. I think. It's. Who knows? You can't know. They were just a little off. Who knows why?
Are you? We're gonna let you get going. I'm sure it's getting late pretty soon. Are you excited for the upcoming events? As far as the early season is almost divided up, where we see on the West Coast a much more distance-driven style of golf, and now we're getting into a much more accuracy style of golf towards the end of the season. Are you excited for this? Do you get excited for the end of the season versus the beginning, or do you enjoy all styles of golf?
I think I like them all. I do really like the stretch coming up. The Northeast is cool. It's nice. The drives aren't as far. The courses are good. The weather's usually pretty good. So that's always a fun stretch. I'm looking forward to seeing Prince Edward Island. I've never been to that part of the world, so that's exciting to get to see a new place. And I got the unique opportunity to win the Canadian Nationals, and maybe I can be the North American King for a month or two until I hopefully defend my U.S. title, and I can stay North American King for a long time. But that'll be kind of fun to get that opportunity. I'm not even really sure if I win, I don't know if I count as the Canadian champion, or if it passes down to the highest placed Canadian, or what.
Just say a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely looking forward to it. But no, I wouldn't say that I necessarily prefer it. I like a lot of our top tier events.
And where do you feel like you are? How much gas is in the tank? Maybe is what I'm trying to say. Are you ready to go? Are you starting to feel the wears of the season? Has it gotten long? Or those types of things?
No, I feel great. I got a big tank. I think the RV's got a 55 gallon. I got something similar. I don't play that much, so I'm not even going to play 20 tournaments this year. I run a lot of Sexton shootouts. I interact with my fans a lot. I play the big tournaments that I like to play. But having my family with me, in the RV, my dad's coming to caddy for me at MVP. My dad's coming to caddy for me at USDGC. My wife and daughter will be with me at Worlds in Canada. So no, I feel excited for this stretch and having everybody together and trying to do my best at these events. Now I don't feel burnt out at all currently.
It's good. I'd love to hear that. Yeah, I start thinking about how the grind. I mean, the grind is real out there for so many of you guys, and it seems like you're, no surprise, you're maybe a little bit more strategic with how you've gone about it, and I think that's going to probably play out best for you as the year.
Well, and you never know how you're going to react with a new kid. This is a first year of touring with having your daughter. I mean, you didn't know going into the season if it was going to be 10 times more draining, if it was going to be more energetic, having a really young, fun kid now that I'm assuming she's walking, right? Or right there?
Not quite. She walks when you're holding her hands. She likes to walk all around. She's doing a lot of
any day.
Like she gets into like a bear crawl position and tries to sort of stand up. She's not walking under her own power, but she's a fast crawler now.
Yes, and trust me, at 13 months, it will happen any day. You'll turn around and be like, "Oh, get out of that!" Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing that like all day, every day.
So I'm glad that the family is keeping you energetic and that you're looking forward to the upcoming rest of the season.
Absolutely, I am. It's going to be fun.
All right, buddy. Give us some final shout-outs and everything else.
Plugs,
sponsors,
and how people can support you.
All that stuff. Let's everybody hear it.
Oh, sure. Let's see. We got sponsors is easy. That's Innova Champion, Pound Disc Golf Bags, Grip 6 Belts, and Adidas Terex. And then, get in there on my Patreon. Get in there on these guys' Patreon if you want to support the media side. Come out to a Sexton shootout if you're in the Northeast. We'd love to see you. We're going to have a fun time. And we got we don't have them up on the website yet, but we heard the big guys and we ordered 2XL shirts. So 2XL Sexton shirts, they're made. I'm going to pick them up tomorrow. I don't know when they'll be on the website, but I'll post about it. So if you're a big dude and you like my golf, get ready.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you need a little big sexy. I think that's a different definition
There's a different
of
big sexy.
Big and sexy. Yeah. Is that how the shirts will be labeled? Big and sexy.
They're just the same old shirts, but we had a lot of guys. I didn't know. I'd never ordered shirts before. I didn't know. I wasn't sure what sizes would be in demand, but we clearly made a mistake not ordering the 2X. I think we have like 30 of them, so I expect them to go pretty quick.
And I'll tell you right now, as a guy who's done, run a lot of tournaments.
Here it comes.
As soon as you order the 2X, they're going to ask for the 3X. And when you get the 3X, you're going to get that guy that says, "Where's your 5X? Why do you hate fat people?" You're going to get somebody to say that to you.
And then you hear Terry complain like, "Well, gosh, the 2X are like an extra $1.50 a shirt." Like, oh man, like it's just not. I've heard this spiel from him for years. So
well, we're doing our best over here.
Of course you are.
We'll try our best to help everybody out.
Yeah, merchandising's is not always fun, but we know you'll handle it well. All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate your time. We know you've got some obligations, and also you got a lot of obligations. You're a very busy man with a lot of different things going on. So thank you for joining us, and congrats on the massive win and the really sizable paycheck. And we look forward to seeing you over the next few weeks out on the East Coast.
I know how to pick my spots. I think that's the two biggest payouts in the last 12 months or so, right?
Yeah, that's what you, just like you say to those guys when they go OB, be like, "Guys, why don't you just win the big ones? Those are win the ones with the big paychecks. Yeah. Come on, what are you thinking?"
That's my strategy. And now I'm going to try to start winning even the small ones.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I'll try.
Well, we'll be there to watch,
as long as you
buddy.
for sure win the big ones. The small ones,
they matter less and less.
Exactly. That's right.
All right, buddy. Have a great night. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good night. And there you have it, our 2018 Ledgestone Insurance Open champion, Nate Sexton, as he's still our current United States champion, which is also very exciting.
Looking to dominate North America.
Yeah, he is. Well,
get into that Canada Golf.
Kind of a side note, and I thought about this dating all the way back to last year, believe it or not. Ricky Wysocki, I believe, is going to go down as the longest reigning world champion in the sense of the time frame, because last year's Worlds was the earliest it's ever been in June, and then it's followed up by this year's Worlds, which is the latest it's ever been. So Wysocki's
like
world
a full
reign,
15 months.
Yeah.
God.
I don't know. What I would, if I were Wysocki and his very smart crew and his staff that he's got all managing his, his stuff.
A disc, longest reigning world champion.
No, I would go.
Asterisk?
I would say that he should be putting in a stipulation with Latitude and his other big sponsors. Be like, I was world champ longer than anybody else here for this time frame.
Yeah. Longest single year world champ.
Exactly.
Because you can't say longest world champ because Climo's got that wrapped up with a decade. But longest single year world champ.
There sounds like an oxymoron in there somewhere. Longest single year, but yes, exactly.
I'm just saying.
Somebody needs the right wording.
Marketing. There is some marketing to be done there.
100%. So, anyway, thank you as always. So much great catching up with Nate Sexton. Out on the board, we see lots of good stuff. Alan Risley, AJ Risley was chimed in a little bit earlier. So many of our smashies that were tuned in throughout the weekend. But Alan Risley, one of the things I saw him post earlier saying that, of course, when we were talking about hole 8 and him saying that, it was really, I think I got all those in there, really tough to watch. And
has to be.
Yeah, it has to be devastating.
Gut-wrenching as a dad.
Yeah.
For anyone
a golfing father.
A father in general hates to watch their kid fail, hates to watch their kid not have the success that you think that they have earned or deserved. And just to watch, just to watch that and you're thinking like, okay, well, it's just 1. And then it's 2. And then it's 3.
Get it in bounds, boy.
Don't make me come over there.
I want to know, Alan, were you yelling at the screen? Were you
hands in your head or head in your hands or whatever? And that's got to be that's unfortunate. Like, I don't wish that upon anybody. But you have to figure we're going to see so much more of that as these golfers are younger. Their parents are probably a little more into it and watching it live. That when their son or daughter is succeeding, they're there cheering. I saw Sherry Weiss on the chat board quite a bit cheering on Jessica. So kept telling her like, she took that bogey with like 6 holes to go. She's like, I just texted her and gave her some good luck, and then she rattled off 5 birdies. And the exhilaration they must feel and the downsides that come with that.
And I've said this before, and I'll repeat it. One of my most fulfilling moments out there on any given weekend, whether it's in the chat or it's a Facebook message or a text message, I've received them all, is from our players' parents. And they say, they usually will say something like, thank you for providing coverage in whatever capacity, live or recorded. Usually it's live. And that, now that I'm getting older, it's awesome. I mean, so many of these people are my friends, and of course we're rooting them on and watching them and watching this high intensity golf unfold. But then to know that their parents are able to consume it from, literally other sides of the country, it gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling. I think to Akale Leviska, his mom has reached out on multiple occasions. I think of
Pat Perman.
Yep. Yuli's mom. I think of Sarah Holcomb's mom and dad, who I've interacted with offline. Jennifer Allen's parents I've interacted with. It's just all of the parents that are out there. AJ Risley's dad, of course, Alan, is always very actively out there. Sherry, like you said, it's...
Alan says it was gut-wrenching, but he got what he deserved. And yes, I did yell a little.
Wow.
So, rough. Just rough.
All right. So a couple quick questions for you, Johnny, as we'll do some live production questions here. Chris Young from out on the East Coast said he has a few minutes. Do I understand you correctly that you could give us a few minutes? We're talking about parents, talking about the junior event, which I know took place last weekend, but Chris wasn't available. So if Chris is available, I think we could have him for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Give us an update on the United States Junior Disc Golf Championships that took place out at Smugs. So we would love to get a few details from him if he's got them, and he can chime in with us if that's still an option out there, Chris. I know you talked that you might be available. I'm still going to keep an eye on my Facebooks. As Jessica Weiss said, she's going to be out traveling around tonight. If she gets in a position where she might be able to dial in and she's got good internet, we may hear yet from our Ledgestone FPO champion as well. I'm not sure yet.
What a dominant performance she had.
Mm-hmm.
Not a surprise with how well she has played at these courses in the past. Tying for first last year and losing, and I think she did well 2 years ago as well. Just being in that position, going neck and neck with Hokum up until about 6 or 7 holes to go, when she takes an unfortunate bogey, but then has the intestinal fortitude to come back with five straight birdies to give herself a I think it was a 2-stroke lead. What an amazing performance by her. She was clutch. That's the word the only word I can use is just clutch.
Yeah, she certainly was, and it was a great battle. I'm watching it unfold somewhat
look here on my U-Disc.
On U-Disc. I was going to say I'm kind of watching it unfold on U-Disc, but at the same time I'm seeing the footage come in every couple of holes, and I can't tell you, like, I am genuinely, I'm watching and I see this and I'm like, oh, what a putter. Oh my gosh, that slipped OB. Like, I'm going through all of these emotions as I'm, preparing the edited footage. It's definitely awesome to see. And there's no doubt, one would think, kind of like you see on a Ricky and a Paul, everyone always has to think, okay, it's the it's the 3rd out of 4, or it's the 4th round. Are one of these guys going to also make a charge, from way back? And when you have Katrina and you have Paige and you have Lisa Fakis all sitting on that second card, you think one of those, shoots lights out, they're going to make a run.
I didn't think that. Not in the 4th round.
I certainly thought it was possible.
On the 3rd round, I thought there was still a good chance that Kat or Paige makes a crazy good run, and maybe some of the top FPO shoot rather than even or one, maybe a couple over, and brings one of them back into it. By the 4th round, Paige was at par and Jessica was at 10 under. I kind of felt like this wasn't going to be a Kat, a Paige, or Lisa Fakis. I didn't see that coming from them for sure. And going a little further into the FPO, what a great first half of the event Paige Bjerkes played.
Yeah.
She, as I said, you laughed at me last week when you thought I was talking about Haley King, but I honestly believe that if Paige were to tour regularly, this is the type of golf we see from her, and even maybe better and a little more consistent. I hope that we do get to see more Bjerkes, because she's fun, she's energetic, and she throws a mile, which is a lot of fun. And she's one of the better putters that we see on tour as well. So she's got a lot of pieces. She just needs to put it together for an entire event at one of these majors. I know she's won a few already this year, but
yeah, she certainly has all the skill sets, and waiting for her just to have that breakout. And she's been right there in the hunt or in the thick of things. So I think it is just a matter of time. I've heard the conversation, to use an AJ term, maybe even the waffling that's going on in her life right now is she is seriously considering the idea of, do I go back to college, which I think she said starts in like a week or two.
It's got to be
for her.
Close.
I think she said it starts in a week. Do I go back to college at Emporia, or do I stay out and do I stay on the tour and do I continue to tour? It sounds like there's no easy decision, and it's interesting when you have her dad, Doug,
go back to college.
Her mom, Noemi, both in disc golf, both work at Dynamic Disc, as does Paige. It's a really interesting, I'm not even trying to say it, but it's an interesting dynamic all across the board there, because you have these parents that are obviously, live and breathe disc golf.
I'm sure she's getting the best advice, whatever that is, from her parents and the people closest to her. I don't know her as well as clearly her family does. My inclination is always stay in school. You can golf after. I mean, I think she probably only has 2 to 3 years left of college. Her skills are not going away at her age. You know, if she's done with college at the age of 23, she'll still have 5, 7, 8 years of prime disc golf. And you could then do a career after that if you so choose. If you don't go to college and skip out, there's a lot more question marks there, I think. You could perform really well for the next 10 years and then maybe have a career in disc golf and be totally fine. Or you could, in 2 years, you could blow out a knee and then you don't know what's going on. That's always my concern with these pros is I want to see them have a good backup plan. But ultimately, she needs to make the decision. It's her life, and I'm sure she's getting, like I said, a ton of good advice from everyone, from probably Jeremy Rusko straight down to mom and dad.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. Of course, we wish her the best of luck. No easy decisions out there. And as the board has just said, she's quite possibly the most likable FPO out there in our division. She's just so much fun. She's energetic. She's positive. She's kind. She's got a big heart, and is we've seen it in her commentary, seen and heard it within her commentary. She loves disc golf, and we love seeing it out there. So
and in today's day and age, like a lot of people are saying, you have other options. You have online courses. You have you can do other things depending on what her future career goal is.
Exactly. So we'll see. So we're going to sidestep just a little bit and get into some of the other action that's taking place around the country, namely in the heart of the country, I think, or is that the Heartland? I don't know what they call that.
Tornado Alley.
Tornado Alley. Going down, some action got started today at the PDGA Pro Masters World Championships presented by Dynamic Discs. And super excited. For those that don't know, I'm traveling there tomorrow. I'll be flying into Kansas City tomorrow afternoon. Excited to go out, catch action on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I want to immediately thank, I know I just mentioned Dynamic Discs is presenting the World Championships. I'm also teaming up with DD in terms of some of the media components. So I think I'm going to get a little assistance there, and we're going to try a few different things in terms of what we release for the media, which I'm really excited about doing as well. So, wow. Well, let's backtrack real quick. Within the world, the Masters Worlds.
Can I say that they're all just lucky we're not there?
No.
Okay. I mean, we're eligible this year, so.
There was an interesting, and I think this debate is maybe just getting started. There was an interesting post by Dave Felberg over the weekend that stated how him and his partner, Patrick Brown, won the doubles that I think took place on Saturday.
And what Patrick Brown qualifies for Grandmasters.
And Patrick Brown is now eligible for Grandmasters. That's correct. But here, let me read the post. I don't want to misconstrue anything. He's excited him and Patrick Brown won the Masters at Heritage Park, so on and so forth. I wanted to address one thing. For many of you who don't really pay attention to the new rules, we have a new rule that doesn't make great sense. I putted during the first round, hit the top chains, and then flipped up, hit the number plate, and it stayed on top of the basket. According to the new rule, that putt counts, and it doesn't even need to hit a chain. Breaking the plane is all that matters. Breaking a plane is all the PDGA requires. I played a provisional and then asked the PDGA. They ruled that it definitely counts. We even had an official, Mike Kruger, who also called it a make. As I don't personally agree with this new rule, it is the rule. I feel bad because, as Don Smith said at the time, I've seen you make many a putt, but you didn't make one. Maybe you meant to say make that one. I hope the PDGA will see the error in this rule and change it back. Think about it. You can throw a drive, nick a chain, hit a tree, then bounce back, land on top, and is that an ace? He says, I played by the rules, but I think the rule is wrong. So interesting.
I kind of have to agree with them. To me, you either count if it's resting on the top or you don't. I don't care how it got there. If it's on the top, it's not inside. And I understand the concept. I watched the little video. There's a video out there that Chuck Kennedy had pointed to. I get it by the letter of the law. Just don't like the result.
Okay.
And take that for what it's worth. It's one person's opinion, or two, as Felberg agrees with me, or I agree with Felberg, however you want to look at it. I think that I think it's extra confusing, and it kind of makes me feel like maybe I saw this and I'm pulling it out of my head. It's like the foul tip rule in baseball. You know, if a foul tip goes immediately into a glove, it's not a foul tip. Or it's a foul tip, but it's not a strike, so to speak. It's not a foul ball. A foul ball has to go up over the catcher's head at some point or something. It's a goofy rule because both of them, at some point you've hit the bat on the ball. It's a designation. I don't love it personally, but there's confusing rules in a lot of different sports. This might just be one of them. It just feels wrong. We have Chris on. We just need Chris to actually send us his video, and then we'll be set.
Yeah, we'll get, I told Chris, once he gets us our video, we'll wrap up the Pro Masters Worlds conversation, and then we'll get right to Chris. So real quickly, I want to address who we saw during the opening round. They're playing one round a day. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then there's going to be a semifinals on Saturday, and then a final 9 for some or most of the divisions, depending on the divisional size, on Saturday afternoon. So somewhat like I think we're going to see, well, it's kind of a mixture of what we see at Pro Worlds, what we've seen at Am Worlds. It's kind of a hybrid of all of those. But one round a day to me is the big takeaway. And I believe they're all having tee times one round a day. So I'm going to start out in the MP40 division. Some would argue that's kind of the premier or the highest profile division, although there's, of course, plenty of world champions and Hall of Famers among all of these divisions. I think the most competitive will be within the Pro Masters division. Justin McLuhan opened up today with a 13 under, which must have been a par 62 course because he shot a 49, 7,200 feet at Bad Rock. So he shoots a 13 under, unofficially rated 1066. Mike Mosier shoots a 12 under. Brian Schweberger shoots a 12 under. And then Dave Felberg shoots an 11 under, rated 1049. And then on your second card, you see Johnny McRae, Mike Murphy, Fred Smith, and Larry Gardner along with Shasta Chris. So I think really the surprising... Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me hit refresh. Why am I not seeing... Okay, there we go. I'm going to redo that real quickly, because I didn't see Barry Schultz's name, and I thought that was odd. He was the last card to go out today, and it wasn't where I didn't refresh. So Justin McLuhan,
tied for fourth.
Mike Mosier, Brian Schweberger, and then in a tie for fourth with Felberg is Barry Schultz. That makes that makes a little more sense. So Barry 2 off the pace in that. Moving down to the 40-year-old. So let me get this straight. Kim Gianola did commentary on the FPO women's rounds of Ledgestone, round number 1. She did commentary on that yesterday. Today, shows up and is leading the World Championships. Shh. Yeah, Kim. Love it. Kim is your leader right now. She's going to have some fierce competition in Courtney McCoy, who has 53 ratings points on her, but clearly that doesn't matter much right now. Courtney McCoy is down 4 to Kim Gianola, so great round out there. Andrea Eaton and Jennifer Morgan are the remaining women in the division. And now here's where I think you're going to really see a great battle. Patrick Brown and Ron Converse, 1 stroke off each other. I'm just going to say it now. I think it's going to be a battle among those two. They immediately jump out to a 2 and a 3-stroke lead over the rest of the field and then some. But Patrick Brown rated 10-16. Ron Converse rated 10-11. And they have the rest of the field by quite a few ratings points. So we'll see how that shakes out. They play at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Tavish Cardiff, Best Sheila Kirkham, by 7. So Tavish has the advantage and has the local advantage in that Tavish is from that area. And then PDGA 962, Dave Greenwell, among some of the greats there, along with Kazo Shirari, Rick Vokes, and Kenny Boorad Lee round out your lead card on Pro Masters. John Graff in the lead in Pro Masters over 70 and over 75. None other than Pete May, who's got like 300 world titles between amateur and pro. So that's what we're seeing. Super excited to be out there. I hope to see some or all of you in Kansas City. I'm going to go out there, get some footage from around the course for the first couple rounds, and then come the final day or so, we'll have the shot-by-shot action as we get wrapped up. So, all right. I think we're lining up Chris Young, who I believe might be ready, or we're waiting on Chris to send his video.
Click the little video button, Chris.
Send your video by clicking on the button. I'm going to... Camera.
Chris, are you out there?
I know that he had... he said he was getting feedback with YouTube and Skype. I said, once you're ready to go, you get to close down YouTube, ignore everyone out there for a moment, and then try and bring yourself in on Skype exclusively.
We're not hearing Chris.
We're going to see if we can get Chris here in a moment, and hopefully we can get a United States Junior update if that's the case from last weekend.
Yeah, we're not getting any audio or video from Chris right now. So.
We need audio or video, or
well, I don't hear him. I asked if he can hear us, so we need both, unfortunately.
Someone had asked, is Ken Climo going to ever play again? I saw with my own 2 eyes. He made a post in the last day or two stating that he's out with injury, and he didn't state anything about when we might see him again, but he said he's still out with injury. So,
no offense to the champ, but at that age, injury, like, they just don't heal as well and as quickly.
Depends on what it is, of course. Yeah.
Schweber said he has a bad hip.
Yeah.
And that is, it's not like you can get around with a bad hip. That is a very difficult, you put a lot of weight on your hips and twisting, and it is a long process to heal up, if you can ever heal up from something like that to play golf again.
Yeah. Good to see you out there, Brian Schweberger. Solid round out there today. Looking forward to catching up with you throughout the rest of the week. I hope you enjoyed your tour. You guys were out there taking in, the shuffleboard courts? Is that where you guys... or the cemetery? Which was it? You were at the shuffleboard courts, but she thought it was a cemetery. He made a post with his delightful wife, Ashley. A little confused, I think.
I thought you were making an old man joke with the shuffleboard, like congratulations on your shuffleboard.
No, shuffleboard is, I think of that, but no, I believe it was horseshoes. I think they came across a horseshoe pit, area, and she was mistaken as to what it was.
Oh, that might be like some sort of burial
or something. I thought that's what I saw on the Facebooks. All right, I'm trying. We're going to see if Chris can get at it. He says where. So are you saying that you might be connected to him?
He's right here.
Oh, okay. So Chris.
We've been connected for 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, you can try the other method.
I know he is not... He is not. He said he did not have Skype, and so he may have just installed it and tried to get up to speed with Skype. So it may or may not work out for us.
Well, we can send him this, and
okay. Well, I guess we can try that. All right. Please stay tuned. We're going to see if we can go yet another route.
Yeah. We'll. If it works, it works. You tell him to close down Skype and open that up, and we'll see if that works. That's our backup method that we use.
Sometimes works.
Works for Dana. Can't be all bad.
Oh, wow. Well, that's...
A little bit more talk about the FPO this past weekend. It was a little surprising not to see Kat or Paige on the lead card at all. I don't believe we once had them on any of the videos that we had.
Round one.
Okay, round one where there isn't a lead card.
And I think round two.
Was it? Kat, maybe. Maybe it was Kat that was on there. And then we saw the Paige made a post, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But do you think that maybe they're little distraction or frustration, not, I don't want to say not getting what you want, but not playing the course you feel that is best suited for you, that there was maybe a little air taken out of her tires on these courses, and that maybe her heart wasn't all 100% in this event to compete at the level she is normally known for playing at?
If that's the case, you could maybe point to that, but I'll say this.
I don't know.
They played those two courses last year, so it's not like there was a sudden change in terms of, well, hey, we're so used to playing this course, and now this year things are all out of whack, and we've been, there's a huge adjustment to go somewhere else. That wasn't the case. I believe they played both Northwood and Sunset Hills the last couple of years. So, I can understand that they, one or both of them, may be excited about the idea of getting challenged by a place like Eureka. That shouldn't really be in their mind. At no point was Eureka their game plan. So I see what you're saying, that they might be disappointed, but it's not like that was dangled in front of them and said, oh, you guys,
No,
you've got Eureka coming up for 6 months, and all of a sudden they switched it. It's always been the same. I'm just not sure if that's a fair argument.
I don't know. It was just I have not read her post. It's just wondering if it was just a bad weekend for her, just not competing as well as she hoped, or if it was something in her that just wasn't in it, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I think as we continue, if we're still waiting on Chris, then what I'll do is I can jump right into exactly what her post said.
Yeah, let's talk about, we see
on the heels of Ledgestone, and obviously the conversation we just had with Nate. Let me see if I can back up. Okay, so she says, Ledgestone, honestly, I cannot say I am ever excited to come to this event. The courses that the FPO division play leave me feeling unchallenged, and that is not why I travel the world playing professional disc golf. I crave the challenge that you feel when you step onto a tee pad at a championship level course. This did bring to my attention, though, something I need to work on to get ready for the 2019 World Championships, which will be in Peoria. And then she says, my short game, which is what she wants to work on. On most of the par 4s, I had a look at eagle. Well, the par 3s, I was attacking too hard and leaving myself long putts just to save par. There are certain holes I need to back off on. So thank you, Northwood, for the reminder. My question for y'all, who are consistently watching tour coverage, is would you prefer see the FPO play these harder courses and or tee pads that the men are playing? And then she goes on to say, congrats to Jessica. Your putt looked amazing. And to Paige Bjerkes, your time is coming. And thanks to her sponsors.
She says she's never excited to come to this event because, and I don't know if it's because she wants to play Eureka, or if she would rather play a McNaughton, or just courses that are more difficult. The problem is, do we, as a sport, cater to the top 3, or do we cater to the majority of the field and assume that the top 3 will rise to the top regardless of the event?
Because, and I'll go ahead and even further clarify and say cater is almost, even in my opinion, a strong word. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Agreed. And I'm going to go out and say that I personally think Paige is the best female in our sport. It's not. It's not a limb I'm going out on.
Wow. It's exclusive. Johnny V saying Paige Pierce, the highest rated woman in the world, 4-time world champion, is the best in our sport. Continue on.
But she hasn't played like it for the past month.
Okay.
We've had much more parity in the sport. Jessica Weiss, Sarah Hokum, Paige Bjerkes.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Cox is slowly starting to creep up in there. I'm a little disappointed in that if you're not excited to come to the event, to where the courses, the courses ahead of time, maybe you just shouldn't come.
Sure.
I mean,
maybe take the weekend off.
Take the
skip
weekend
it.
off. Go do something else. Go play a different event. Go run a clinic. Do something. But you know what you're walking into. You know ahead of time. It's not like you said. It's not a surprise. We know that Paige has struggled with her short game, whether it is her putt inside the circle recently, or her, as she even said, being too aggressive on the par threes. I have a hard time, because even as Nate said, you can't put them on the Eureka course as it is, any of the female, because I don't care how good Paige Pierce is, she's not shooting better than probably 5 over par on that course. I could be wrong, but take a look at the MPO statistics for players that are about 970 and better, and you could probably have a general idea of where they are. And that is probably about, and I haven't looked, and maybe it's 3 over, maybe it's whatever. I'm just saying, I don't think she shoots well there. And she's going to be the best. And does that matter to them? Does it matter? Is Paige okay with her shooting 3 to 5 over par if the rest of the competition is shooting
22.
13, 15, 20, 40 over par?
Well, and interestingly enough, Missy Gannon, who was on the chase card along with her this weekend, Missy Gannon had a remark out there on Facebook. She thanked a lot of people, media, staff, crew, everyone. She was very gracious in everything she said. I feel like she kind of directly responded to Paige in a sense that she said, if we were out there, we were competing, she goes, then change the And she said, I understand. She said, I feel bad. I don't want to misquote her, but the gist of it was the feel goods that go along with pars, and if you change the par, then it will feel better. You're still shooting X amount of strokes.
So instead of a par 3, it's a par 5. Instead of a par 5, it's a par 8. Is that what we're saying?
Because in some capacity, possibly.
For some of those holes would truly, for these women, probably be I won't say par 8, maybe a par 7. Hole 13, what are most women scoring on that? If they can make it over the water on some of those shots. Because there's not a bailout zone for that hole. And I don't know what it is to clear the shortest part of the water. 275, maybe? The shortest.
Yeah.
Is it the shortest, absolute shortest part of the water? And from there, you are in a horrible position to now have to get around down to the far part. Because then we run into the issue of, okay, we let them play. I feel so bad saying we let them. But then they play Eureka. And you say, okay, well, we're going to shorten the pads. We're going to give you these short pads. At what point is it then saying, well, you're not playing the same course. Why are you playing this one and not a different course of that particular style? Why do you have to play Eureka? I understand Paige's frustration. She wants to play difficult courses because she feels that A, it suits her game better. And I don't even think she necessarily means longer. I just think she means more difficult, because Sunset Hills and Northwood, there are a few holes out there that are difficult, but overall it doesn't have the difficult style that we see at Eureka with the tight OB and the punishing fairways, even if they're shorter. You don't see that at Northwood and Sunset Hills.
Well, and funny enough, again, only to play into the debate that then unfolded online, some people are saying, you don't think that's difficult? You shot 3 under on the weekend and you lost by 12. It sounds like it was plenty difficult for you. And I'm not stating that. I'm just saying that was one of the knee-jerk reactions, saying, hey, you shoot 3 under times 4 rounds, you still lose to Jessica by 3.
I don't love that argument, because I feel like you can have a bad weekend. You can have your heart not in the event. And because if Paige is firing on all cylinders, she is competing there.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You can't argue with that. Like, there's no discussion to be had there. Clearly she's not. Clearly she has some issues either with her game, with her physical game, or her mental game on that particular style of course or area. I don't like. I just feel like we're in a lose-lose situation where if you put the women on the Eureka course and shorten it, you're almost, is it insulting to say, well, you're not good enough to shoot the long course, so we're going to make it a short course for you. Then what's the point if you're not shooting? Now, if she says, if Paige's argument is, hey, I think that Northwood and Sunset Hills could be tougher, that's a different discussion. You want more rope at Sunset Hills? You want a slightly longer course, move the pins into more difficult positions? I'm all for that. But there is a point where it becomes, I don't want to say unfair for the rest of the field, because
well, I mean, the whole Tiger proofing, Paige proofing, all proofing, Simon proofing, those all conversations all then get, all those terms get thrown in there.
They do. And if the courses,
I
it's
feel
such
like
a hard argument to have. She's not here to defend herself, and I love Paige as much as the next person. I love watching her golf. She is phenomenal, and she's fun to watch, and she's gregarious, kind of like a Paige Bjerkes. Even when Paige was shooting poorly, I saw her high-fiving Bjerkes on the film.
Absolutely.
And she's cheering on a teammate, and she wasn't, by no means did she have a bad attitude, it looked like, at any point. It was just her heart probably wasn't in it. And but I do have a hard time with the discussion like, oh, we should be, and I don't know if she didn't specifically call it Eureka, but she didn't necessarily think those courses were best for the FPO. And I don't know, maybe McNaughton is a better spot for them.
And I know that, there's different logic and reason, and you're also dealing, I don't know all of the courses well enough. I know quite a few of them. I can't say I know them all well enough to, nitpick as to this course versus that course being a perfect one or not. We know McNaughton is good. Megiddo is a good course. Wildlife, Wildlife, I think, is one of the. I mean, there's a lot of great courses in that area. Mm-hmm. I will echo what someone said immediately after I put up the FPO round 1 footage, releasing it separately tonight. Someone had said, I don't like this because I feel like they're at a totally different tournament. I'm not seeing.
Isn't that what some people are calling for? Is a whole FPO tour?
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't care. I don't care that it's a whole different tournament. If it feels that way, that the women feel so separated from the men, that makes no difference.
Well, that the course is different, and that you, for instance, you watch live or Jomez or Central Coast or whatever. You watch footage of all the men playing, and then you turn around and watch footage of the women playing. Completely different course. I mean, literally a completely different course.
Different style, different everything.
I'm just repeating what some of the people had said, is that, well, I kind of feel like this is a totally different tournament. Like, there's no similarities or reference points whatsoever because they're at a completely different venue. And I could kind of understand that as well.
I understand the disconnect.
There's good and bad with that, like you just said.
I totally understand the disconnect between MPO and FPO. Like, it is nice when you can watch, we'll just take San Francisco, when you can watch the hour before MPO, watch the FPO tee off, and get a general idea of the course. Oh, they're shooting similar lines. They're shooting, it might be a little shorter, but it's still difficult for them. And then we watch the men shoot, and we're like, oh, okay, the men are backed up 50 to 70 to 100 feet, and it's a slightly different thing for them, as opposed to a completely different course. I get that. Like, there is a disconnect there, but I don't like that particular argument because having the FPO at a different course doesn't necessarily make it a different event. I mean, we've seen this. Sure. We've seen this at Worlds a lot of times, that there are courses, even at GBO, there were courses that the women didn't play
Country Club
at
any point, and the men exclusively played there. So it's really kind of the same
exactly the same thing in that. But I don't know if it's different because of the environment of GBO, where it's a big party, that it still felt like the same tournament. But ultimately, I don't like that particular argument.
I hear you. Well, and as someone on the board had just mentioned, Joseph had said, it's a good point. Women didn't play the bridge hole or around the lake. It is definitely a disconnect. Yeah, I understand it can be a disconnect. I think you want to put the women where their skill sets best suit them for a competitive tournament. I don't care where that is. As long as it's not, 2 hours away and it's happening on the same weekend. I don't really care where it is. I'm definitely in the camp of I'm okay if they're at a different course or different courses for the whole weekend. I'm totally good with that. If that's what makes for the best tournament experience, the question is, whose tournament experience are we most concerned about? Is it each one of the players? Is it our top players, our furthest thrower, or the 80% of women who fall, in that, not upper echelon,
Mm-hmm.
or everyone, or the 90% and the 95% that aren't named Paige or Kat or Holcomb.
Or Jessica now.
Or Jessica as well. So
I just
anyway, good, interesting conversation. Paige obviously has never really been shy about speaking her mind, and I think it's great that she does. I think
I love that she's outspoken.
It will just have to be a conversation that continues with people like Nate Heinold, people like Steve Dodge, who are obviously clearly directing and heading these tours and these events, to have that conversation way ahead of time. And then, if she goes to those two in this particular case, she goes to Nate Heinold, she goes to Steve Dodge, she states her case, they state their case, and if they don't find a common ground that Paige agrees to, she has to make that decision. Okay, maybe I skip it. Okay, maybe I go there and I need an attitude adjustment, or I just skip it entirely. She's going to have to make those decisions.
She goes and caddies for one of her touring pals, or for AJ, who's shooting well, or Nate Perkins, who she's good friends with, or whomever. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It sounds really dumb saying this. I feel bad for her being so much, and I don't mean to insult the other women, so much better at some things than some of the other women. Because we are looking at 95% of the FPO field and trying to cater to them, saying, okay, this is what's appropriate for you. You have this top tier of these couple women, your Kat, your Paige, your Sarah, and your Jessica, that unfortunately are the outliers with a majority of their field. And you could argue that should we be catering to the 95% or the 5%? And the 5% is what everybody sees. The 95%, nobody, unfortunately, most part, nobody sees them because they're not getting a lot of video coverage. There's not a ton of spectators. They're not getting the same eyeballs that we see at the top tier of this particular division. So it would be awesome if we could just cater to longer, harder, tighter, ropier courses.
But would it?
It might be for those 4 or 5 or 6 women. That could be a fun competition to watch. It might not be. It all depends on the course and the style.
I don't want to watch any woman or man play a 4.5 hour round.
I'm with you. Well, you have to edit it. So
well, besides that, in addition, just in general,
watching a bunch of people struggle and get frustrated is not fun.
No, it comes through in the video. It comes through on the players. It comes through on so many different levels. It comes through.
Would it matter if you were watching the top 4 women shoot, we'll say relatively well, let's say in the 960s, 970s for them, or above, and the rest of the field was struggling at 4.5 hour rounds, but they are able to manipulate the course the way they need to, and that is a very, very tough balancing act. And I don't envy, any TD or course designer that has to make that decision, because you can't make everybody happy. You want to make the course super tough, there's going to be a lot of women that just say, that is not for me. I do not even want to try to compete at that level. There is no point in me not having fun. So you might shrink the field that way. You want to make the course kind of more friendly to that larger portion of women, and then you're going to alienate the women who say, look, this isn't challenging all my skills like I should. I want to be throwing distance. I want to be having tough approaches, having to throw forehands a lot, things that make it difficult for me. There isn't a perfect answer.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all, and this all dates back to the whole concept of Steve and the Pro Tour, very much analyzing certain holes and looking at what makes sense for the women as opposed to the men. Because there's plenty of people on that post and others that are like, you should just be playing the exact same course, no changes. You're professional women, just play the exact same course. And I think that is asinine. And I will I call it otherwise. I'll back it up with a direct quote, which I wrote down earlier by Nate Sexton, who said when talking about the women, he said, quote, "You can't put them on the layout we played," end quote.
Agreed.
Period.
Well, you know what? We have Chris. He's here. He's available.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
We got him on the Dana line, the magic Dana line. So for future reference, Chris, if you ever need to show up on the show and just boot Dana off when he's on, that's the number. That's what you call. So let's get him on right now.
All right. Coming in from way out in Vermont, Chris Young. How are we doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
Wonderful.
Good. Glad to have you. Heated debate, and I know, you guys are up against some of this as we're looking at the Pro Worlds and playing out at Smugs. You have two very different courses already, just in terms of the nature. You've got a much more wooded side and a much more open side. Gosh, just to put this one to bed, what are some of the things that are being considered for men's versus women's tees out there, if anything?
Well, we lost the water hole out at the basin there for all divisions. So that was something, we pushed the tee back on that one, but that hole's gone. So we have, a few holes out on Fox Run that there's the long par 5, hole 7.
Yep.
And we set up a bunch of tees for the junior, USJDGC. And so now there's 3 sets of tees, I believe, on Fox Run and 3 to 4 sets of tees on Brewster Ridge. And so I am not exactly positive what the crew up there is going to do. Jeff Spring will have the final decision, of course, there on the tees for the MPO versus the FPO. But there's plenty of options, which is nice to have.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in and just assume the FPOs will not play the exact same layouts and configurations as the MPOs on those two courses. I just think that would be crazy that they'll both play 2 sets of 18 holes, but they will not play the same tees throughout. I can all but guarantee it.
You're probably right. Honestly, for this particular instance, I wouldn't mind if they did, only because they're probably playing different courses at each time.
I still don't think that would be appropriate.
I'm not saying it would, but at least it wouldn't. Part of the fear of having them play that is if they're on the same course, the backups it could cause with some of the FPL. But in this particular instance, if they told me they were, I'd be like, wow. That'd be crazy.
All right. Well, aside from the super great,
juniors,
amazing professionals we're going to have there, we've got up-and-coming professionals in the juniors, the first ever United States Disc Golf Championships taking place a week and a half ago, 10 days ago or so. What do you got for us? What went down?
Well, we had junior players from 30 different states and 2 Canadian provinces, which is awesome for the first year. We were all extremely pleased with that turnout. We had a family drive from California. We had another family fly from Alaska, the Badejos, Elena, and they placed first and second, and that was really cool. People just loved Vermont, of course, as they should. We had 10 divisions represented out of 12 possible divisions, I believe. The players' packs were huge. The kids got a bag, a whole bunch of discs, like 4 hats each. We had a mini tournament. We had a putting, U.S. putting championships that Matt Graham ran, which was awesome. There was so much fireworks display. I mean, everybody was so pleased, as were we.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things that I think was really cool is you guys seem to be, you, of course, had huge supporters and sponsors, and by all means, I want you to recognize and list them. But this was somewhat brand agnostic in that, like, it wasn't exclusively put on or underwritten by one manufacturer, was it? You guys had support from a bunch of people?
Right, that was the plan going in. We had about a year and a half of conference calls, once a week or so. We had Kids Disc Golf, Matt and Josh, of course, and myself and Jeff here in Vermont. And then we had Dustin and Hannah Leatherman with Eagles Wings. And so that was the core team. And we planned out and executed an awesome event for the kids. And we're really excited to have it there, hopefully, every year is the plan.
Well, and let me, I almost want to retract a little bit now that I just spit that all out. I think it's great that it was that way. I also wouldn't be opposed to it, being largely underwritten or supported by a single manufacturer. I guess when it did come out, though, I immediately assumed it was, it was one manufacturer's, we'll say, brainchild or underwriting, and it didn't work out that way, or it wasn't that way. And the more I thought about it, I guess I don't really care if one manufacturer does underwrite it, right? I mean, does it matter as long as we're growing juniors?
Yeah, we got support from everybody. We didn't want to we wanted everyone to be a part of it and supporting, the growth of the youth game. And so Dynamic and Discraft and Innova and Gateway and DGA, and we brought everybody in to be a part of it, and we all did it together. And that's the plan moving forward, unless we have a discussion elsewise. But I've always thought that's a really great idea for a series of events, but it worked well for the USJGGC this year.
Now that was going to be my follow-up, though. Is this something that you guys see moving? Do you see it always taking place there, the same time frame? Is this can this get bid out, or how do you guys kind of see the development or that unfolding?
Right. Well, Jeff and I have a great relationship with the PDGA and with all the local organizations here in the New England area. We would love to work with the PDGA on keeping the USJDGC at Smuggler's Notch, the #1 resort, America's family resort, which I think is the kids loved it. Like I said, we had 87 kids and their families here, and it's the perfect place. It's a beautiful place. It's a great place for kids and families to come and enjoy disc golf and other things outside of disc golf, and everything is on site, which and so it's we would love to keep it here, and that's a discussion we'll have to have with the PDGA and us as a team with them moving forward.
Well, and I'll echo that thought, not to sound like an unpaid salesman for you guys, but I can't think, and there might be somewhere out there, but I can't think of a more logical place, like you just said, because it has everything. You get there, you get on site, it has all the lodging. You simply, take the shuttle or a vehicle, a half mile or a quarter mile to get over to the two courses. And then you have all the kids' amenities. You have adult amenities. You have everything right there for an entire week or weekend or whatever you want to make of it. And somebody could naturally, I'm sure some did, take advantage. You come out there, you play in the tournament, but you may have come in a few extra days or you may stay a few extra days, because if you're not taking some form of relaxation and vacation while you're there, well, then you're just missing out as well. I mean, it's an obvious choice to be there. Send me a check. Send the check. Send the check.
Jeff's done a great job at bringing disc golf to Smuggler's Notch into Vermont, and we have everything on site. It's really just awesome what Jeff's done up there and his whole crew to get those courses the way they are, and Smuggler's Notch to jump in behind the game and to support it. And there's a brand new pro shop that wasn't quite done for the USJDGC, but is going to be done before Worlds. And so there's a big deck, and it sits in between the two courses. And so you can walk out one door to Fox Run, walk out the other door to Brewster Ridge. There'll be a big deck there for music and other activities, and it's only getting better, which we're really excited about.
That's awesome to hear. this year was the first year that we saw the juniors broken out in their own sense at the World Championships, Dynamic Disc. I was there. Again, very inclusive. Yes, DD presented the event, but it was still a PDGA major with a ton of support from, multiple manufacturers. And it was the first year they did that. And it was also the first year of seeing the USJDGC, which is a mouthful. Do you feel like having the Junior Worlds take place a couple weeks before the USJDGC took place? Do you feel like there were some people that were conflicted? I'm sure there were people that went to both, but do you feel like maybe there was some people had to choose kind of one or the other?
Oh, for sure, definitely. The kids are on summer break for 2 months or so, so it's a tight window to play a couple huge events. So, it's not cheap to travel anywhere. So, some families had to decide on Worlds or USJDGC. But, August worked the best for us. It's a tight window, so it's hard to schedule, appropriately Worlds and USJGC moving forward. We're going to obviously do our best to work with whoever runs Worlds. But, it's a tight window there. You got late June to late August, so it's hard to schedule appropriately. But
yeah, and do you and by all means, I think everybody did the best they could. Do you see either event, either one moving up, or do you think there's going to be any attempt at kind of just pulling them apart a little bit more, or not, or does it seem like everyone's kind of just locked in? And by all means, none of this is in a negative connotation. I'm just trying to think of moving forward. Could you see them? I'm not sure how locked in you are to your exact date, how locked in Junior Worlds is, or maybe they just both continue to, exist on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a nice, back-to-back weekends or something like that. Obviously, wouldn't work
sure.
Well for either. But if like a mid-August or late, early July, I mean, ideally. You give a little bit of a, break in there. So maybe families could do both, hopefully,
sure.
would be the, thing I'd like to see. So, that's something we should definitely talk about over the off season here into next year and make that happen.
Awesome. All right. So give us your biggest takeaway from that week when you were there, a shot, a smile, a hug, whatever, anything. What was something that really stood out for you?
Man, there were so many. I got to announce on hole 1 every single day. I was there from 7 a.m. to 12:45 or so was the last tee time. And so I got to announce and learn how to pronounce some of the last names and first names. And so that was awesome to see the first shot of the tournament of all these kids, which is, a very unique and special shot of the tournament. And lots of them, it was their first time hearing their name announced before they played in a tournament. Lots of them, it was their first big tournament ever. But I will say that on the final day on Sunday, announcing on Fox, it was maybe approaching one of the last cards to tee off, and Ava Meyer came up with a token that I have on my bag as good luck right now. And it was a little basket keychain holder thing that she had made, and it said, TDs are the key to success, I believe it said. And it's on the bag, and it's staying on the bag, and it's going to bring me some good luck, and that was what I took away the most.
That's awesome. Now, if I recall, was Ava also was she at the Junior Worlds, I
believe so.
I think she was, because if I recall, there was a story about her possibly handing out something to spotters and helpers at the Junior Worlds as well. So obviously an incredibly gracious and amazing individual. And if she wasn't at both, well, we'll just say she was. But that's awesome. Her parents are doing a lot of things right then, which is so great to see. Any changes? What did you guys learn next year? What's already on that sheet? If I know how you and Jeff and you guys operate up there. You guys run a tight ship, so you probably already thought about next year. What makes the list of oh yeah, let's look into this or let's adjust for that?
Well, it's hard to get with 10 divisions, all the tees on every single hole completely dialed. So there was a couple things that came up that we're going to look at and tweak and make sure that, they're better next year. So we put feedback forms out on the table. So the families, positive and negative, but, hopefully we'll look at that and start to, we're going to take a little break here over the next couple months and then get right back at it and look at what we can do better for next year. And so it's really great to hear all the feedback from everybody that attended. So that'll help tremendously.
Yeah, certainly. And such a massive undertaking, and you guys have obviously, really stepped into the role of hosting these, big time events. You think about the Green Mountain Championships, of course, Worlds, so on and so forth. It's going to be, pretty soon it's just going to be second nature. It's going to be like just greasing a well-oiled machine up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, next year we got Masters Worlds in June, and then GMC in September, and USJDDC in August, and Jeff's got his hands full, as do I. So, but we're looking forward to it. It's all stuff that we love, and can't wait to be a part of.
Now, if you just make it a little less expensive to get to that part of the country,
yeah, the fly and then the drive and the
it all pays
That's
off.
what we love.
It all pays off in the beauty, though, right? The scenery.
Yeah.
That's
the Green Mountains. It's a beautiful remote place, and we like it that way.
Awesome. Is there anything else before we let you go? Anything else you want to share or touch on?
I'm looking forward to having everybody here for Worlds. We've been planning for 2 years now on this. Jeff's getting the courses dialed in. I'm getting all the volunteers together. We're working together as a team to make sure that it's, the best Worlds that we can. All of our friends are coming. We're lucky enough to be friends with a lot of the players that'll be attending. And we got the Fall Fest lined up at, Friday and Saturday night at Smugs. And we're just looking forward to having everybody, here in our home state in Vermont, and can't wait to see y'all.
Well, you guys have proved for the last few years that I've been coming out there, and even before that, of course, that you know what you're doing, and everyone takes things very seriously up there, all taking that serious approach just so you can make sure you can have plenty of fun as well, and somehow you have a perfect mix of it, and is super excited to be up there in September. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, for sure. We can't wait to see you here.
All right, Chris. Well, I want to also, we both personally want to just say thank you. We know you're here pretty much every single week. You need more things to do. No, we do appreciate you're in on the chat board. You're always giving insights and filling in with the local information that we're either messing up or skipped over or glossed over. And just for being here every single week, pretty much, we really appreciate it. And we know your heart's in the right place, and it's all paying off. And just thank you for everything. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, same back to you guys. You guys do an awesome job out there. Watch you every weekend, hustling hard. It's not easy to do what we do in the disc golf world. And but, it's awesome to see Smashbox bring disc golf to the next level, and can't wait for the future. And we'll see you next week.
All right, buddy. Have a great night.
Thanks
Go relax.
a lot, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. And like I said, he chimes in pretty much every single week. It's always great when you see the interaction on the chat board. We know lots of people tune in and they watch and they listen. But when you interact, you throw in some information. You make sure to point out when Johnny V's wrong. We love it all.
Quiet person.
Keeps you busy. All right. Do I see Rick, one of our cameramen, the squeaker?
Yeah.
Is that who's out there? Quick follow-up to that from this weekend. There was apparently a squeak, and I'll be the first to admit, in the booth, I couldn't specifically hear it. It may have been coming in at just a frequency that was a little below one of my deaf ears. But there was a squeak out there. And that was ultimately, and it's funny because when I heard that there was one, I assumed it was a connection from one piece to another, and it really wasn't that at all relating to a microphone. It had something to do with another piece of the camera. Unfortunately, one of our expensive cameras sustained just a flat-out break or crack at a previous event, and then when we had to adjust this event and put on some new equipment, which we've
bigger,
never had
bulkier.
before. It ultimately then created this just this perfect storm, and next thing you know, we have
Sounded like a duck.
Is that what it,
That's what other people were saying. It sounded like a quack, like a duck. It was a squeak.
So, well, that just keep in mind things like our Patreon account and other means in which we're going to continue to try and do more fundraising.
So
That's what those are some of the things that we need to adjust. Our camera. It's funny. It's kind of crazy to think the cameras that we're using now are pushing like 3.5, 4 years old, and that's ancient.
I want to spend like $20,000 this winter.
Yeah, so if you guys
can I
could
do
just,
that, Terry?
Yeah, just start, as long as you get 19 of it in Super Chat tonight, we're good.
We have we got to use the 2 new Terra decks, and mixed results with that. When the signal looked good, we were pushing out at a lower bandwidth than we normally were, and so when the signal wasn't choppy because of the cell reception, the signal looked pretty good. Especially on the first day when we were pushing out in 1080, but I come to find out my computer can't handle doing 3 different recordings, 2 streams of cameras, video call with you, and instant replay all at the same time at 1080. So I had to bump it back down to 720 strictly for my computer's sake. I did reach out to somebody today, a company called LiveX, and we have come to an agreement.
Wait, do they have 2 X's or no?
Just one. LiveX. I know.
Yeah, so they're inferior right off the bat.
They are clearly inferior to
Go
us.
on.
And they are going to rent us out some equipment that we put on top of the new Terra decks, which came in that modem once. So this is like our standard, this is what everything goes through. So we plug those into our unit.
From the 90s.
Yeah, from the 90s. And we have usually 2 or 3 of these, and this is what the entire signal goes through. The new units are about they're about $800, $700 to $800 a piece, and we're going to rent 4 of them. And they're about, I'd say they're a little bit bigger and thicker than an iPhone or a phone. And they put your cell card into it, and they've got these 2 huge antennas that pop out. So it's supposedly 2 to 3 times stronger cell reception. And we've come to an agreement with them, and they're going to rent us out some stuff. Steve Dodge is going to kick in some cash because we're going to be using them at hopefully Maple Hill, which means that we're going to have a possible chance to be able to go a little further down the hill.
Don't even say it.
On 11.
Don't even say it.
But as we've said before, 2 to 3 times almost 0 is still almost 0 cell signal. But
it's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot.
That's the point.
And
That's
we're going to give it we're going to give it a try. Because I think that these are getting old, and sometimes someone says that they don't always fire up. We need an upgrade, and we're working on it. So that's kind of that's your tech review for the week.
And we are 0.0001% on our way there, thanks to Big Putt, Bill Sherman.
Hey, Big Putt,
coming
Bill,
in
and
out of
Joseph Douglas.
Hello. Thank you guys both, super chatters. We do appreciate it. Both come in with a super chat. So if we just get on here and beg long enough for like the next 44 days.
44 days straight.
We
Just
might,
like a marathon.
No, but seriously, we appreciate you guys.
All the
anything and
Patreon
everything. Again, you know, and
super chat.
As many of you already know, just like computers are a lot like camera equipment, which is a lot like a lot of the other technology. As soon as you buy one thing, you know, before you have it home and opened and on and set up, it's already outdated.
And that's one of the things I'm kind of afraid of. Like this winter, if we get new equipment, we got these new modems, and they work great with the 4G cards. In 2 years, there's going to be 5G at some places, and then you're looking at what? Like, oh god, I got to buy $2,500 in new equipment because we got 5G and they don't have the right chips or the right codecs and all that other fun stuff. It is, it's a 24-hour begathon. So it's a never-ending cycle.
Yes.
But ultimately, we are going to be doing our best to provide the best quality that we can, and we are going to continue to do that.
Are we the best live streamer, disc golf live streaming company?
We are.
Because we're the only ones.
Shh. Spoil it.
Details. What did they say? You can make statistics say anything?
Yeah,
we're ranked number 1.
We're totally
by
the
JD
best.
Power and Associates. Anyway.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend us.
All right. Well, I think that's a lot of information for a 2.5 hour chunk here tonight. I think we can start wrapping things up here, and maybe we'll see a little bit more action in the after show. But we're ready to call things for now. Yeah, jam packed. So much good information from Nate Sexton. So forthcoming with how this big weekend went down for him. And also great to hear from Chris and some of the updates from the
AJ
United
up on the
States
board
juniors.
who chimed in and talked a little bit about his round and how he felt. And I had made the joke that I'm sure AJ would have loved to have it 3 rounds, and he's like, the 4-round win would have been so much sweeter.
And Nate Sexton agrees.
Nate Sexton does agree.
And again, it was a battle of the nice guys. So many great people. You can have your favorites certainly, but at the end of the day, we knew super nice guy was going to win, and Nate Sexton obviously is one of those. All right, guys, we are going to call it for now. We're going to, of course, come to you in the after show. All bets are off. All the gloves are pulled off, and we're all ready to go. Anything can happen in the after show. We interact more with you from the chat board. We love taking your questions about disc golf or non-related disc golf items and topics, and we'll look forward to doing some of that in the after show. So, for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, for our great staff and crew that was out there, Chad and Rick, just hustling around on the cameras this weekend in those ridiculously hot and muggy temperatures. We love and appreciate you guys, the hard work you did. And I want to thank Dixon for joining me in the studio. And then, of course, all of the Disc Golf Pro Tour staff and crew out there, along with the Ledgestone crew. You guys really knocked it out of the park, and we're glad to be there for just 3 rounds next year. We appreciate it and love you guys. Thank you to all our Smashies.
Is Ledgestone going to happen next year with Worlds?
That's the word. It's
Okay.
We'll talk about it more in the after show, but that is the plan. So we do look forward to being back there as well. We will catch you in the after show. That's Smashbox Podcast 208. We'll see you later. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 208 After Show.
You held it too long. We agreed.
Dang it.
2.4 seconds.
Welcome, everyone. Terry Miller, along with Johnny V, and we're here in the after show where just about anything goes. We love interacting and largely fielding questions from what we see on the chat board as you guys keep bringing the heat, bringing the noise. We see. I love you guys.
Stop bringing the heat. It's hot. It's warm. Next week's supposed to be better in like the high 60s, low 70s.
I love you guys so much on the chat board. Each and every one of you that's there. But come on, let's get a few fresh logins out there. I mean, I love Disc Golf Nerd and Country Disc Golf. Ryan Pilcher, who I saw this weekend. Tommy. Like so many. Tommy A.
I love all of our...
all you guys are great. But Joseph's a newer name.
That is a new name.
He's been a little bit more active tonight. I appreciate it. Big Putt Bill. Carver G's always here. Ollie, Axmark, always here. Luke Butch.
You know what?
We love our regulars.
I would love
we want some fresh stuff.
I would love it if we had more people, but I love that we have the people we have.
Of course. I'm not complaining.
Liar.
I just know there's a lot more people out there that are clearly watching.
Live.
Just don't tune
Every
in.
Tuesday night at 9 p.m. We are here You can interact with us. You can ask us any question you want. At some point, we might answer it.
Or not. Or I love to reword your question and pass it off as my own.
It makes him feel smarter.
It does. It's great.
It's what they do in the booth. Gary and I actually talk here, and him and Dixon just listen and then rephrase what we say.
Just like, yeah.
Something smarter. Because when I say, gosh, that was a dumb throw by that guy, Terry's like, now, was that really the angle that he wanted to release at? That's what he does. That's all they do. It's mostly Gary, let's be honest. Gary's the smart one.
Tommy asked to pronounce his last name, which I've heard it pronounced, but that doesn't mean much that I retained it. So, Johnny, do you want to take the first swing, or should I? Let's. I'm going to go ahead and quickly spell it for everyone. It's Arianoutos. Tommy A, as I call you.
Yeah, that's why I said
so
Tommy.
much easier.
Yeah.
What did you say again?
I said Arianoutos. Tommy Arianoutos.
I'll go with that. Good job. All right. Tommy did ask, though, so why did you pay for a place when you had a free place at Ledgestone? Tommy, we've been over this. There's a communication challenge sometimes that happens on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. This was apparently one of those situations. Flip Flat says, I'm watching, but quiet as usual. Matthew Q asks, who believes Eagle will not play Worlds? I absolutely do not believe that. I'll admit I was confused if he was talking about this year's Worlds or if he was talking about next year's Worlds. Either way, he'll be there. Done. Like, he won't not play.
Arianoutos.
Arianoutos. He phonetically spelled it out for us.
Arianoutos?
Newtsis?
NYWT. That is not
Night?
phonetically easy to say.
Yeah.
like I get the first part, I get the last part. That middle one, still not easy.
All right, Tommy. You know what you got? You got too much airtime is what you got. All right. Larry Puckett says, just a little late for us East Coasters. We appreciate it, Larry. Furnace, I think that's Anthony, right? How about those Eric Oakley memes?
I think there were a bunch from him in the water.
Yeah.
Doing.
I didn't see too many. Scott Pittner.
Newt.
Seriously, Scott, great to see you, buddy. Scott runs Paper or Plastic Sports out of Illinois. Scott was vending this last weekend down at the event, and Scott also has vended and or co-TD and helped dozens, if not now hundreds, of Illinois events. So awesome to hear you tune in there, Scott. We appreciate that. Good to hear. And Country Disc Golf says, I have the perfect screenshot from the Ledgestone broadcast. Be sharing that tomorrow. Came from a freeze up of the stream.
There's a few of them.
I was just going to say, I'm guessing that's not going to really be good. There's probably nothing good that can come from that. JT O'Brien had said, I throw nose up. How do I fix that? JT, I think just a general rule of thumb.
Lower the nose.
Besides that, some would say like lock your wrist. I always say it's when I'm thinking about at least throwing a relatively flat or a line drive type shot, obviously not your big hyzer and hyzers. I'm always thinking about the flight plate of the disc being just parallel to the ground. And so I always talk about my visual for that is like if you're to pick up a disc and you're holding a disc, pretend that your favorite adult beverage or milk or chocolate milk or orange juice is on your disc. And if your wrist is turned up or down or left or right, that beverage is going to slide right off your disc. So always pretend like you have something sitting on the top of that disc and you're probably going to have it relatively flat. Then when you release it, just keep it flat. So super easy. Like Nate Sexton would say, why would you even throw out of bounds? Like, come on. That's just silly. Arianoutos.
Tommy A. Because next
Tommy A is still what you're going to get
next
called.
week, we're not going to remember. Actually, we might, because you've put down there 27 times.
All right.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I was about to say, we're kind of delving into a little DGAM territory by answering some questions.
Oh, are we?
But
that's true.
I will say they've been delving into our territory a little bit with longer podcasts and kind of having their own little after show or pre-show kind of thing where they talk about non-golf related stuff. Listen,
cute.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah, keep it real. Keep out of our business.
Yeah, I'm going
Or
to be
not.
1,000 rated. Woo. Right? Can you say keep it real? And I'm going to keep saying I'm going to be 1,000 rated.
Randy K says, Terry, sell me an RR Comet. Oh, Ron Russell Comet. I was wondering,
Oh,
how
you're-
about instead
you're
I'll do
not-
you one better. I've got a
Galaxy.
Glow Z. No, I have a Glow Z Tear Bear stamped Comet. Far more limited than the Ron Russell Comets. There's thousands of those were made. A Glow Z Comet with a Tear Bear stamp on it. I want to say like 20 were made. I've got those for you.
Will Dickerson start touring more since he had a good couple showings? When are you going to get a Cam Colglazer interview?
That'd be a good call.
Colglazer would be a good interview.
He's just got to win.
He doesn't even have to just win.
No.
We sometimes we have losers on.
That's true. That's true.
We're on every day.
Hey-o.
Yeah, Colglazer would be a good one. I think it would help if he would win a big event. It would drive us to seek him out faster. But
Yeah.
if he doesn't, pulling him in more towards the fall when things slow down would be a good just to catch
Sure.
up and find out what's
I'd
going
be
on.
all about that.
And as far as Dickerson, I don't think we're going to see him tour much more this year than we have in the past. He's probably going to hit the next big couple events. I'm assuming he's going to be at Maple. I'm assuming he's going to be at Worlds and USCGC. But and other than that, he's probably going to win a bunch of B tiers.
Yeah,
between them.
he's very much seems to be very comfortable dominating regionally. And I think I'm going to hopefully see him at the South Florida Open in December, where I saw him last year take that one down. And I think he's going to continue to go to A tiers and B tiers and
Big
so on and so
events.
forth. But yeah, good question. All right. Area Newtsis. Yeah. All right. Don't be so stuck up, Big Putt Bill says. Simmer down. Brutal Brutus says, what's up, Smashies? Good to see you. We saw you out on the chat board throughout the weekend. I think you were well behaved. I feel like at one point you weren't, but maybe you are now. I love to see it either way.
I've been less and less on the chat board during the broadcast than I have in the past. Every once in a while I'll chime in, but I used to be much more involved in them. And I feel, and I know you are more involved now than you were in the past because you are now sitting in front of a computer. I miss the chat board a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was just thinking the other day, I love interacting on the chat board and always having at least one eye on it, which I know you've done more so in the past, and I feel like I can maybe even relieve a little of that pressure or stress. If there's something critical that's coming in on the chat board during our live show, I can usually pretty much immediately relay that to Johnny if he didn't see it himself. And I also love that there's so much. I love it when the interaction's good, and I know that sounds all too obvious. When it goes off on these random tangents and one guy saying, hey, I'm going to go play Joe Schmo Park tomorrow, and another guy's like, I can't wait to go play it. What time are we meeting up? And they have a totally private conversation among everyone else. That I kind of, roll my eyes at and just think, all right, like, great. But for the most part, when the chat, I was going to say stays on topic, that never happens. I do like that it's taking place, and I love that if somebody has something pointed or specific or a great question or even just a reference point, I know Matt and Josh are always on there, that they'll reach out to me and to the rest of us by saying, oh, so-and-so's on a tear. They've got 9 birdies in a row. There's only so many things that Dixon and I can continue to keep on top of. So when some of the other people chime in with really great stuff to look to or to reference or question and say, oh, so-and-so just marked for an ace, I may not have seen that. And so it's great that we have that as a reference point. So thank you guys when that's going on.
Someone asked a question, and I don't know. We don't have any say in it, but they're saying, who do you think is going to pick up Kevin Jones next year? His contract is over, and I'll say this. I personally hope he stays with Pro Discus. I
Just to be different?
Just to be a little different. He seems to have success with the plastic he's using.
Of course.
Not that he's not going to have success with other plastic, but I hope he stays where he's at. The question is, will they be able to compete with some of the other offers he's going to get? I don't know. I don't know how much is going to, how much much goodwill is going to be there from being the company that picked him up first.
Mhm.
How much that's going to weigh. But let's just play pretend that he's for sure gone. He's off. I would then love to see Discraft pick him up. I think Discraft is losing Nate Doss. He will always be a Discraft player, but with the outside craft brewing and stuff like that, we are going to see less of Nate. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits less than 5 events next year. I don't know, and I think they need another young big name. They have Austin Turner, but this year Austin hasn't really made a big splash in any event.
Well, he splashed on 13 and on 1 this weekend. I'm just kidding. I don't even know if he did.
I doubt he did. But I would love to see him go to Discraft and kind of put him more in the spotlight, because I think a company like Discraft could really focus on a Kevin Jones. They have the resources to do that. Would it surprise me if Innova picked him up? Not at all. They have a lot of resources and a lot of pull.
He could go anywhere.
He could literally
know absolutely nothing.
Zero.
That's the only disclaimer.
Yeah,
is he knows absolutely. And I'll say I know nothing.
No, you're
but
right.
The thought is he could go anywhere.
He could go anywhere.
But
He could go Innova, DD,
Sure.
Discraft. He could stay with Pro Discus. He could go to Westside, Latitude. I don't know.
Disc Wing.
Disc Wing. Yeah.
He loves the quarter K.
Quest.
I heard the quarter K2.
Yeah, that's the big one right there.
Yep.
I just don't, and maybe I don't know him well enough. He doesn't feel like a DD player to me.
Ooh-wee.
Not to say they should. Everybody should be going
Ooh-wee.
after him if they can. DD has such a tight family feel, and a lot of those players are very, they're very tight. And from seeing him with other players, I haven't seen him interact with a lot of the DD players in general. Not to say they have any issues, but he doesn't seem to be part of that clique. Could he jump in there and become it? Sure.
You should have saw who he was hugging the other day.
Who was he hugging?
I'm just kidding.
You?
No,
Probably you, weirdo.
I'd take a hug from that guy.
Personally, I'd love to see him go to Discraft, because I think he could be spotlighted there, and I think they have some good resources to focus on him, and he could be that player for them. You know, Michael Joe's a great player, but he's not on the tour as much as Kevin Jones. He's slightly more of an East Coast guy, and he doesn't quite have the splash that Kevin does these days, with the distance and the power and always kind of getting there in the mix. That's just my completely unfounded, zero information, as always, opinion.
All right. R09, it said, asked if I had any DD discs with the Terror Bear stamp, and I don't. I have some Latitude, I have MVP, I have Discraft. So reach out if there's something that you're looking for.
Someone says, Discraft won't lose Nate. I'm not saying that he's going to be sponsored by anybody else. I'm saying that he's just not going to be on tour nearly as much. He's not going to have that pull to sell the plastic like he used to, because it's not going to be in his scope anymore.
Steve Hill from the PDGA says Kevin Jones to Discmania makes too much sense.
It does. Just having that a third Crush Boy, so to speak, that like it would fit the mold of what they have right now with your Simon Eagle Jones kind of would be a thing. I don't. But
who knows?
Again,
maybe he hates them.
Maybe
he doesn't. Maybe he loves them.
I once heard him say, "I hope I run over somebody," and I hope it's on Discmania, and I hope his name is Simon.
Yeah, well,
it was weird. I wasn't sure. But...
I feel like it was pointed though.
It could have been random. There's a little bit of. No, you're right. That does fit their mold, but I feel like if he really wants to be featured as a player, that isn't necessarily that wouldn't give him the most feature personally. But they could offer him $1 billion, and he would be like, "Ching."
James Conrad conversation as to if isn't going anywhere. Brutal Brutus says DD does not make T-Birds and JK AVRs. Tommy also says that he doesn't think he moves. And this is all obviously nothing more than just random speculation among us with no good insider. Stephen Hill said, admittingly, I'm watching the chat while back on the Sexton interview. I just think KJ to Discmania works.
I think
with a power standpoint.
Well,
certainly.
Steve, put down the notebook. Stop taking notes on our interview style.
Yeah, because if anyone's got it dialed, it's our rambling.
We understand that, unfortunately, you put your podcast out earlier today. If you're smart, you wait till after ours to get all the really juicy stuff.
Yeah.
No, I listened to the PGA podcast today. Good job. It's, as always, it's very, very informative and well produced.
Wes Warren is out on the board. Good to see you, Wes. Hope all is well, buddy. Kevin and AJ hang out together a bit, but that means nothing, according to AJ Risley's dad, Alan. Mm-hmm. Disc Golf Nerd says he's signing with Lightning. Well, at least you have a what was their policy? Was it that the discs were either unbreakable, or if you did break one, they would just replace it for free? I don't know how that marketing slipped past all of us.
Brutal Brutus is pushing for Barry as a feature card at Maple Hill. He's not going to get on by default. He would have to be voted on, I think. He would have to be in the voting pool.
In
some capacity. So reach out to Steve Dodge and see if he'll put him in the voting. And if he does, I don't think he's going to win, but it doesn't hurt to have him on there.
I mean, he could have him as like the 2004-ish
3-4
Maple Hill Open champion. That's a possibility. All right. He can make lead card for round 2. Yeah, he certainly could. And I'm excited to see Schultz out there. I'm excited to see the Pro Masters action when I get into Kansas City tomorrow. I might be also excited to get over to Minsky's. I know Kansas City is famous for the barbecues, of course, but I once fell in love with Minsky's pizza.
You're going there for the pizza.
To be fair,
the pizza has barbecue pulled pork right on it, right?
Not this pizza. No, I get the
I know.
I get the chicken cordon bleu pizza. They have gourmet. It's I'm not a barbecue fan as much as many, and therefore I have no shame in saying I'm excited to get to Minsky's. I like barbecue, but
I know
I got to get to Minsky's first.
If you are out there right now and you're an adult,
okay,
no, an adult, and you're not watching Preacher,
oh wow,
on AMC, you are missing out on some of the most fun, surprising, blasphemous, gory, enjoyable, just it puts a smile on my face every week. It is the thing I look forward to, the TV show I look forward to the most every week. I went out and just bought the season on Amazon, so every Sunday night at like 1 a.m, I look forward to that Monday morning, like, ooh, I've got a new Preacher to watch. It is so much fun and a blast. And if you enjoy, I'm trying to think, there's almost nothing like it on TV, which you might even like it.
I was just going to say, the only thing that matters here is you're rambling. I might pay attention again.
It's not really sci-fi. I would say it delves a little bit into, I'm trying to think of what there's crazy angels. There's a crazy devil in it. It's over. Hitler makes an appearance at one point. It is as goofy and crazy as you can imagine, and it's fun. It's just flat out fun.
Doesn't sound like I'd like it.
I think you might. Honestly, okay. I think you might.
Well, it's got Hitler. I mean, why would
you have to watch it to understand.
I know.
Like it's weird getting excited to say, "Oh, cool! Hitler's in this episode."
I know.
and because he's such a fun and not fun, but interesting character in the series.
You're selling this great.
I know, and that's what is really unique about Preacher, and I just look forward to it every week.
All right. Well, we'll see how it shakes up. All right. J.T. O'Brien had said this week is nuts. I'm assuming, yep, you said this show is out there. Fear of the Walking Dead sucks, so I haven't run into it, is what Blue Boy 27. Blue Boy, yeah. I saw you out there throughout the weekend. I appreciate it. You chiming in and participating in the chat throughout the weekend. Disc Golf Nerd had said something along the lines of he was excited about being part of the broadcast this last weekend. Thank you. Johnny, now that I think about it, Johnny had played a review because I was thinking this looks oddly familiar.
Yeah. Let's call
Disc golf
Steve
nerd.
Dodge.
Are you whoring yourself out to other entities?
And if you're whoring yourself out, you better be getting a bigger paycheck than what we send.
Yes.
You. I'm just saying.
Make sure you get it. But good to see. Big Putt Bills voting for Shameless, which I have seen portions of lots of random episodes, and it is really, really good. I do enjoy it, but I've never sat myself down to dedicate.
I am just waiting for the season. I'm just waiting for it to go off the air, and then I'll binge it. I don't want to get like 6 seasons in and be like, oh, now I have to wait for season 7.
Yeah.
For that particular series, I've heard good things. I've watched 1 or 2 episodes. I'm just going to wait for it to finally be over. I'm in no hurry to get into it. So
It is pretty good. All right. Ryan Pilcher, who good seeing you this weekend out there, said, why are so many pro disc golfers so dang nice? Madison, Kale, Dana, Danielle, Chandler Fry are all so much fun to talk to this week. Can't wait to make it out for more. They all are. All of those people, plus like one other person. No, they're all really nice. And I mean, of course, it's all part of the disc golf community, which is awesome. Seth Steinway, it was good seeing you out there this weekend. All right, I have another segment to send to Maple Hill. Oh, Tommy A, few moments ago said that Steve Hill released the MVP Opens player meeting. And I want to know, did he already release it?
Steve Hill or Steve
I'm
Dodge?
Sorry. I apologize. That Steve Dodge, I was thinking of Maple Hill.
I
Steve
knew
Dodge
you were.
released the MVP Opens player meeting already. And I'd like to see it as a totally stolen idea also from me. And I'm sure I wasn't the first TD to do it, but I had done that a number of years ago. I did the entire players meeting for a A or B tier, A tier at the time that I was running. I had it all released, put it out. And what I think is great about it, there's a lot of great things that can be done about it. You get everything in there. You don't have to worry about people listening or not. Like clearly they just have to click on it. And then you can even go in there and timestamp different things. So if you're out on the course and you could say at the 6 minute and 7 second spot is where OBs are covered. So if somebody pulls it up on YouTube, if they really wanted to dig for it, as opposed to just playing a provisional, they could go out to the link, click on 6 minutes and 7 seconds, where the TD explicitly stated all service roads are played as inbounds, or the parking lot and the west side is inbounds and the parking lot on the east side is not, or whatever. So I'd be interested to see that. This just in, there's a new page in town. Doug Bierkus is out there, and as every excited father would be, pushing for his daughter from afar, and I love seeing that as well.
For sure.
Randy K said, Dad's drunk around tonight, nipping at my heels in the $20 fantasy league. I have not heard from Dad's drunk yet. Usually he does make a late drunken appearance. All right, Tommy, it's on the channel. Okay, good. Yes, hashtag Terry timestamp. Yes, I haven't been doing those, darn it. I'll give a quick timestamp. I think it was yesterday, though. Katrina Allen, it was her birthday. So happy birthday, belated birthday to her. Imagine being, okay, yeah, Wes is having a conversation with others. Okay. All right.
You got anything else for me?
No, I know I've just said it 6 other times, but I'm genuinely excited to get down to Kansas City. Great disc golf community. Interesting. We're in a unique year in seeing all. Now this is the most world championships that are broken out on their own by having this year having the junior worlds, the amateur worlds, the pro master worlds, and the pro worlds all separated in that sense. Huge effort by the PDGA staff, huge effort by all the various host clubs. There's just a lot to it. So I'm excited. This will be my 3rd World Championships of the year that I'm attending, and of course we'll be at Pro World. So I just feel very blessed that I can have any part in bringing you some action from each of the worlds this year. So super excited. Country Disc Golf had asked, you speak of any about the pot you stirred up today. I actually didn't, and I'm not going to really go too far into it. The long and short of it is,
people are waiting for an event that you coordinated filming. You have an agreement with a pro player to do it, and they have commentary
put over it,
and they have been unable to fulfill that so far, and so you're still waiting, and it's not totally your fault because your portion is done. People just seem to really enjoy it when a pro commentates, and we're just kind of waiting at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a local person, sent me a private message who I'm not friends with on Facebook. They sent me a private message, and just wanted to immediately go on the attack with me. And it was just an interesting way to go about trying to get your point across. So that was stirred up all over Facebook. I appreciate the love and the support. I didn't need the pats on the back. I'll take them, but that's not what I was hunting or fishing for. But I do certainly appreciate anyone that wanted to stick up. This Paul gentleman, Paul Kowalski, if you're paying attention at home, here's the message, just so some of you do know, since you may not be on the Facebooks. He sent me a private message and quote, "When is your lazy ass going to put out the Silver Cup video up on YouTube, ... You really need a question mark there. Maybe next year we can have Jomez do the footage so we're able to promote the courses in our area." Spelled A-R-E. "Thanks, you fat bastard. We hate you." So if there was any question or not, if he was joking, as some have said, there could have been a playful tone in there somewhere. I'm not sure the finishing it with, and I'm not friends with him. I don't know if I've ever met him. I don't hang out with people that classy. But if there's any question, yeah, I think it can be squashed when he finished with "thanks." His punctuation's so terrible. "Thanks, you fat bastard. We hate you." Naturally, I replied privately with "cool story. I appreciate the insightful feedback. The videos have been edited since the Tuesday following the event. People like you complain about my commentary, which is why we've been waiting on some top pros to commentate on it. All 3 rounds are fully edited, but just waiting on commentary. Hashtag stay classy." And then in a separate message, I said,
bastard.
In a separate message, I then followed up and said, "For what it's worth, it would be our, not our." And I corrected some of his poor English, and grammar. So that's what was dealt with on the Facebooks today.
It's a great message.
Just a fine, classy individual. You want to come at me, bro, but you're going to get a lot further. Or is it farther? You're going to get a lot further. You could have just asked me nicely, "Hey, what's going on? Where is it? Is there something that's hanging it up?" There's a lot of polite ways I would have gladly replied to you. I'm not hiding. I've talked to the tournament director. I haven't cashed the check that was even offered to me for the coverage. Like, I know you don't see the video, but I'm still 10 steps ahead of you, jackass. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was some of the fun that went down today. So if you're wondering what I deal with, I'm not playing a victim here. Let me be very clear. But that was my exchange with someone today. So
I love social media.
You know what they say, if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. So I must be doing a lot of things right. Something like that. All right, let's give away some stuff.
What do we got to give away?
Our amazing, I told you guys last week that we've got some Discraft action. Of course, Ledgestone Insurance Open put on, thanks to the Ledgestone Insurance Group, Nate Heinold and his cohorts, along with Discraft. They put in just an unbelievable amount of energy and support financially and beyond into that event. So I'll have a Discraft disc to be shipping out to you. And before I leave for Kansas City tomorrow, I feel like I want to get caught up. Well, I always want to get caught up, but I feel like tomorrow's the day.
I've got some stuff for you, so we'll be good to
that
go.
helps too.
Yeah.
And we'll get you guys caught up on sending out some stuff. So appreciate it. All right.
197 patrons. If you would like to support Smashbox on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Half of us are lazy fat bastards.
I'm just fat. I'm lazy sometimes too. I'm not a bastard though.
I am.
I know you are.
If you want to support us, go ahead.
There's so many old jokes there I could bring
There
up.
are.
Anyway, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Donate at any amount, you're eligible for our weekly giveaway. We give away at least a disc every week. A lot of times we will give away one of the disc member boxes. That's worth $50. We have been known to give away other things as well.
Yeah.
So hugs from Dana,
or the good hugs from me.
This week, we're giving away not only a Discraft disc, we're giving away Dana's hair. If you see him,
oh my gosh, just take some.
Just shave his head. Don't tell him. Just sneak up behind him. Bzzz. Tell him it's from us. If you do it, don't tell him it was from us. No, just a Discraft disc today. So thanks to everybody who is a Patreon supporter for us. Let's look. We got 197 patrons. What number should we draw, Terry?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
Fat has 3 letters in it.
All right. I like it.
The third one. 131, 122, and 159. 159. I have sorted them by order of which they signed up.
Ooh, so are you somewhat recent?
Chris Schellabarger.
Yeah, Chris.
Chris Schellabarger, thank you for being our friend, like the Golden Girls once said. Thank you for being a friend.
You would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, "Thank you for being a friend." All right. Yeah. I'm going to finish off my point.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to bring this full circle.
There's more? Why is there always more?
I might be overweight.
Oh, jeez.
I might be adopted.
You are adopted.
Which I'm so blessed.
That's where the bastard part comes in.
Yep. Which I think he was just guessing.
I think he just threw a word out there. But that's why I got such a big kick out of it.
I think it's fair to say I'm not lazy.
Not at all. You're like one of the least.
I think it's fair.
You're one of the least lazy people I know.
So you struck out. Jerk face.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. You got to be a fat bastard. I mean, honestly, 2 out of 3, that's Hall of Fame in
that's
MLB.
True. That's 600 batting 666 there.
That is some. So there, where are you at now, Terry Miller?
That's true. He got me. I guess he did get me. He got me. All right. All right. Seriously, though, thank you guys.
Thanks to everybody.
Looking forward to Kansas City. Looking forward to bringing you guys some more action next week. That will be just on the eve of heading out to Maple Hill come next week. The golf's just not slowing down. World's around the corner. Majors, all sorts of crazy stuff. And we keep doing it for you guys because we love it. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, all of our awesome Smashies out there, whether you tuned in live on Tuesday nights or you're listening to this on your tractor on Sunday afternoon, we love each and every one of you, and we appreciate your support. We'll keep coming back for more. That's been Podcast 208 After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.